You either is or you ain't. You do or you don't. You can or you can't. Or you will or you won't. Either way, baby, a good man, well, he's hard to find. Welcome to the One More for the Good Guys podcast, where good guys gather to shed light on the good life, the people, and the good things that make it that way. I'm Mike McGill with my co-host, Jamie Akins. Now, raise your glass, lend us your ear, and let's have one more for the good guys. You either is or you ain't. You do or you don't. You can or you can't. Or you will or you won't. Either way, baby, a good man, well, he's hard to find.
On today's guest episode, we have our friend and soon-to-be yours, Mr. Kevin Abernathy. Madisonville native, guitar ninja, and one of the most talented singer-songwriters in the business who calls Knoxville home. Without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kevin Abernathy.
Now, sorry, just always are just so green and full of blooms and just pretty, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, it got them too, both of them.
Yeah. It's happening a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, 2014, I remember it didn't get above freezing for 2 weeks that winter.
Yeah.
I know because we work outside. We have a dog business, and it's mostly outdoor. We have a lot of fenced in area, like 3 sections, and
Happy Yap.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Happy Yap. And, so we're like, oh my God, it's going to be high 28 today. So we kind of keep track with the weather, which never did that before until we started doing that. And today was miserable. I worked first part of the day, and it's like one of those.
I thought about it too. I was like, well, I guess I'm going to have to get out the auxiliary heating things, because I'm fine over here because this is on propane and it'll be warm in here like that.
Not worry about pipes over here either.
Yeah.
Propane's feels good. We use it.
Yeah.
We have in our house.
But Mom lives next door, and I was telling her, I said, we've got an old school kerosene heater that definitely do a good job, but it won't. If the power went out and her being in her mid 80s, that kerosene heater is not going to.
Yeah,
it's not going to do the trick. So I got to go. I'm going to have to go and buy another some kind of propane deal to get it hooked up over there, just in case power goes out, because. You go in there year round and it's 75.
That's the way my in-laws' house is, and my parents.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we've actually ran out of propane on a couple of those weekends where it was like frigid, and we were at the mercy of Holston. You call them up. It's like, it'll be 7 days, 6-7 days before we get out there. It's like, you guys are right down the hill from us. Come on. We've been doing this for 20 years. Mm-hmm. And they're like, sorry. And then they show up 3 days later. But we spent a couple of weekends at the house. We live in an big old farmhouse that's drafty. And it got down to about 52 in there the last time it happened.
Yeah.
It was 2 days of no heat.
Yeah.
And
you don't think that's that cold, but if you're just in it,
it's psychological.
Yeah, it's totally.
Yeah.
Like, I'm inside. I'm not supposed to feel this way right now.
Yeah. I mean, we keep it pretty chilly in the house because we use propane, and it's very expensive. And of course we used to have a furnace. Well, we still have a big wood furnace in the basement.
Yeah.
It's hooked up to it's got a blower on it.
Oh,
it's hooked up to the ductwork downstairs.
Yeah.
Did that for about 11 or 12 years. Going out and finding wood, having it delivered, going out and buying it, going out with friends and cutting it when it's 20 degrees.
And you ran out of friends.
Namely, John Wells.
John
Wells thrives on that. He's like, you want to go out and cut some wood today? I got this guy over here owns a farm. I'm like, high is 18 today. This is years ago.
Yeah.
He goes, well, we can do it or we can't. And I go, okay, I need the wood,
Yeah.
John was out there, no gloves on. I went to Walmart and bought all kinds of stuff, and my hands were numb in big Outback gloves I had on, and I was just like, how are you doing that? It's 18. That was the high. And I used to do stuff like that. And about 3 years ago, I'm like, let's stop burning wood. But that thing was nice.
Yeah.
It heated up the downstairs but you had to keep shoveling wood in there. Like,
absolutely.
Every 3 hours.
I'm sure.
It was big, and you could put a big log in there and then put a few little pieces around it,
John is an interesting guy. Super good guy. Great music fan. And but I can only imagine he strikes me as one of those, he could build a Eiffel Tower with a ceramic vase and an angle grinder, and some solder and wire.
Yeah,
and
he could do that.
You know what I mean? He's like a MacGyver type of guy.
He is a MacGyver type of guy.
For sure. Now, doesn't he build like steeplechase courses?
Equestrian style. He builds the tracks. And goes all over to do that.
Like, how do you pick that?
How do you get into that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like, he didn't have college and career day.
He helped out. There's a kind of a connection to my wife's family. The Penrose Farms out in West Knoxville. That's where my wife she learned to ride equestrian there. And John, when he was in college, got a job working for them. And and that's how he's of West Tennessee and
grew up around him.
He moved here, went to school, and stayed here.
Yeah, horses are real big. Like, we went to Shelbyville one time for a deal, and it was like, what is this, Texas?
That's the home of the Tennessee walking horse.
Yeah,
so that's big deal there.
Yeah, there was lots of horse. I mean, the whole thing we went down there for was it was when I was helping Robbie at the time for a concession gig.
That's how I ended up going.
Okay.
I was working for this guy who did generators for sporting events, movies.
Okay.
And in Nashville, he was from here too originally. He ended up in Nashville about the time I was over there. And I said, I'll help out whenever I can. And that was one of the gigs.
Yeah.
And I remember I was late. I was pulling the generator out there, and I was an hour late, and I screwed a lot of stuff. I pissed a lot of people off.
Yeah.
I thought he said 7 o'clock, and he said be there at 5 or something. But it was very interesting. It was
the whole time change thing.
There's a lot of controversy over how they train, and
I'm sure there's
some abuse going on there or something. I don't know. That's what I hear.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's a whole hierarchy of, in that world, I would imagine, like anything else, but.
Yeah.
But the greatest thing about Shelbyville, the time I went, was we went to, it was back, how long ago was this? It was back when the Orioles and the Royals were playing in the ALCS.
The 50s?
No. It was a little.
I do not know, but it's been a while.
Well, it's been a few years. Yeah, it's probably been maybe 10 years. But I was kind of obviously I'm a baseball fan, but
I know this.
We were
2014.
Okay, so 14 was where we were.
That's not very long ago.
Not too bad.
10 years.
Boog Powell wasn't playing first base or Brooks Robinson, but But anyway, we were out there, and we got the evening off because we were done with the horse show, and we went to this little restaurant, and it was kind of a mom and pop, but it kind of looked like it was a mom and pop who had bought out a chain that wasn't there anymore. One of those type of buildings, the way the looks are. Yeah. And we get in there, and I asked the bartender. I said, I ordered a White Russian, and I asked the bartender. I said, could you turn on the baseball game for us? And he goes, what channel is it on? And I said, I don't know. I said, probably like TNT or TBS or ESPN or something, And he goes, well, we only get, and he named off like 5 channels. And I'm like, son of a bitch. All I want to do is have a drink, watch the ball game, spend some money. And so I told Robbie, I said, I'm going to go outside and smoke. I said, I'm not pissed off, but I was disappointed. I was wanting to watch the ball game. And plus the Orioles were in it, and I was kind of an Orioles fan, and they hadn't been in it forever, since the 50s or 70s at least. And I get outside, and there's this old honky-tonk queen out there, and I was like, she was getting ready to light a cigarette, and I lit her cigarette for her, and I said, hey, where's a good beer joint at? I said, I'm not one of these places like this shit in here, Like, where's a good beer joint at? And she goes, oh, you want to go to the Hideaway? And I said, where's the Hideaway?
She knew, I bet.
Yeah, and she gave me directions. Of course, I listened to maybe about 17.5% of it. I was just ready to get back in there and go, don't order any food. Let's go to the Hideaway. So we did order food and got to eat, but we went on this quest trying to find this place. And it's not a big place. It's not the sprawling metropolis of Shelbyville, but we get to going down through there, and finally Robbie's like, it's got to be this way. We went every other way. And I'm like, that's going up into like a residential area or something. He goes, well, I'm turning up here to see if we can find it. And sure enough, man, he made that turn and like 2 more. And there it was, and it was a double wide trailer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Hideaway right on the front, And I was like, oh, hell, this is it. And I was like, you ready? And he goes, yeah, I think so. I was like, let's go see if they got the ball game on. We walk in there.
Silence.
Pardon me. Yeah, it's like a UFO had landed, We walk in there. And there's an older lady behind the bar. I guarantee just got her hair did that Friday. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The type. And like Bonnie or Marie from
Marie,
Toots or Marie's Old Time Tavern. And so I didn't know. I walked up and I said, let's get 3 high lifes. She said, all right. It's like $6, or whatever it was. I think they were like $2 a piece. So they got cheap beer. There's one good thing. And I looked over and they had an internet jukebox thing. Well, dude, I went over there and loaded it up with like fucking Ernest Tubb, Farron Young, Hawkshaw Hawkins. I mean, all the old stuff that I could think of.
Was there any music playing when you got there at all?
There was something playing. I can't remember what it was, but there was music playing. It seems like there was. So I went over there and played like, I don't know, I put like $10 in it, or something like that, and played a bunch of songs. And we come back over and she said, I asked her, she came up to the bar and I asked her, I said, they had this 19-inch color TV on top of a refrigerator in 2014. So you'd think, flat screens were around.
Yeah.
But it was still beer out of the fridge, plywood floors, plywood walls, in this double wide trailer, and the little TV sitting up on top of the refrigerator. And I said, you think you could find the baseball game on? I said, are you a baseball fan? She goes, yeah, I like baseball. Okay. I said, well, you think you can find the ball game? And she flipped it right to it, and I'm just like, oh, damn, this is great. Cold beer, and baseball game on. She said, then to me, she said, let me ask you a question. She said, did you play all that music? And I thought, oh, I either hit it a long ways or I struck out right here. And I said, yes, ma'am, I did. And she goes, walks over to the register and gets $20 and says, go pick out some more.
Oh, wow.
And dude, we sat there and drank beer and got drunk as skunks and watched the whole ball game.
On a 19-inch color.
On a 19-inch color TV on top of a yellow Whirlpool refrigerator from 1975.
Wow. That's a great
hideaway
story.
In Shelbyville.
There was my hometown, there was a hideaway in Madisonville.
Okay.
Right off 411. No windows. Just a one-story little building. Literally.
Probably block building.
I think it was painted, though. I'd been in there like one time. But, that was when I was growing up, and they had bands in there and stuff. Yeah. And there was also, right up this road from that, was a place called the Cripple Creek.
Oh, yeah. I'm familiar with both those places.
Are you? Are you from down there?
My dad's from Vonore.
Oh, gosh.
So, I spent my entire childhood at Benton's Bacon at Benton's Ham House. So every weekend.
Yeah, it's in that area. Cripple Creek was very near where, Benton's Bacon moved down that way. They used to be closer to town when I was growing up. Now they're worldwide.
Yeah.
You
How
go
crazy
in
is that?
Fancy restaurant in Charleston, it'll, with Benton's Bacon.
I still think it's too salty.
Oh, all right, Jim. All right,
I'm in agreement with your dad on that.
My dad said, he called me
I
up.
think it's good.
Speaking of that today,
it's
he
bacon.
called me. He said, I
see
sent you 3 pictures today. I was like, oh, what of? He said, me and Alan Benton. Right there they are.
Oh, no kidding.
They're real tight.
Alan Benton. But that's it. Yeah.
There he is again. See, I think Alan was a guidance counselor before they started that. His daddy and him started that ham house.
Exactly. That's what my dad tells me.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. So then there was Giles Grill, Bar and Grill in Vonore, which, I was down there Saturday. It's getting a facelift. Someone bought that building after all these years, and something's going on in there.
Yeah. So you grew up in Madisonville?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. It was very, very much smaller then.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think population in the city limits was 2,000 total in like 1980.
Yeah.
And now it's probably 4,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I go there, I can't believe it. It's just the hustle and bustle when you go through where you should just be fields on both sides. This is not where the town is. Town just got, Walmart came in and sucked out all the mom and pop stores. But it was very small. High school was like 600-700 students. Vonore was
200. Less. Yeah.
They consolidated high schools probably in 93 or 4, I think it was. Sequoia, yeah. But that's where I grew up. Yeah. Well, I moved 2 months after I turned 18.
Well, I was getting ready to ask, could you, were you the child that couldn't wait to get out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I caught the rock and roll bug, and, I'd read those magazines in the drugstore downtown on my way. I'd walk from middle school, called it junior high back then, actually.
Yeah.
It was 5th through 8th grade. It was right downtown. We walked across, and I'd go down to my dad's gas station, which was down on the other side of down. I'd stop at the drugstore, go in there and read Hit Parade, Circus, all the rock magazines. That was that's what I did. And down across from the gas station, there was an IGA. grocery store, and they had magazines and records, albums. They had a rack.
Yeah.
Right there. I'd go over there, but I'd go down there and wait for my mom. But on the way down, 11, 12 years old, 10.
Right.
Walking across town, stop at the drugstore. And I remember one time I was in there reading a rock magazine. My dad comes in there. What are you doing? Your mom's waiting on you. You can't buy those you can't read them without buying them. Put that back on the rack. I was like, this is what I do. But sometime around then I read where this guy, I think he was from Florida or Georgia or Mississippi. When he turned 18, he moved to California and got, shit. And I was like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I just got in a guitar around that time. And and then a guy, when I was a junior in high school, this guy from California moved to my little hometown. I was like, oh, yeah, I want to hang out with this guy.
Right.
And turns out his dad was from Monroe County and had moved back there. He got it from California. They had some kids, got a divorce. He moved back. So that's how he ended up in Madisonville, and we started hanging out. And he moved back to California. We kept in touch. Talked about starting a band, and when he lived in Madisonville, and said his best friends were a drummer and bass player, and you should move out. And I'm like, yeah, I'll move out. Yeah, I'll move out there. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And that's how I got out of there.
Right. So that was your first move? Did you go straight to California at 18 or whatever? He came back to town. I called him up right after I graduated high school. And I'd worked for my dad because he was a small business owner. He had a lot of stuff going on, and I was always working for him. And I quit working for him, started working at a music store in Sweetwater. Mm-hmm. And then that didn't pan out. So I just started lazing around the house playing guitar all day. And my dad was like, what are you doing? You got to go to school, college. I'm rocking, dude.
Or you got to work, and we got in a little argument. And I called up my old friend that had moved back to California. And I said, I'm ready. He moved back to town, and everybody was like, why is he back here? I didn't tell anybody except my sister. And
right.
And then I finally said, I'm moving to California. And that's how that happened.
So did they look at you like a spaceship had just landed? Or what was my
parents were like, okay, if that's what you want to do.
Right.
Just like, about a year before that, I was going to quit school. I'd gotten in this band in Lenore City. Cover band. They did a few originals. Those guys were a lot older than me, but a friend of mine in Madisonville got me a tryout. I went over to junior year in high school, tried out for this band, and I got in it. And I was 16.
Mm-hmm.
And we played Bad Company, AC/DC, Loverboy, stuff like that. We played at the World's Fair. I mean, not the World's Fair, the
TVA and
TVA, yeah. TVA. We did that. We played after a KJ's game.
Oh yeah,
one time. That was one of my first gigs. Played some backyard parties, and that was my first taste of being in a band. But those guys wanted to go on the road.
Yeah,
and they said, you need to talk to your parents. And I was like, okay. And this is my junior year, into my junior year, and I sat down with my parents and started crying. I'm like, I want to go on the road.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, if that's what you want to do. I want to quit school. It didn't pan out.
Yeah.
But so when I said I was moving to California, it was kind of the same thing. I broke down again. I was like, I'm moving to California. And they're like, all right, okay. And I can't imagine. I have kids.
Right, yeah.
That's 3,000 miles.
Yeah.
And
that was in,
a long time ago.
It was a lot bigger back then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, I say that all the time, and people look at me like I'm some kind of hayseed. But you couldn't get on your phone. You couldn't book a flight. You couldn't. There wasn't the internet. You had to go to the corner store. You had to go.
Hell, you couldn't call Knox County.
No,
That'd be a long distance.
No, absolutely.
The counties had to touch.
Yeah, I miss those days. I do. I miss. You had to go out and drive around to find your friends. Let's go out to the lake. It was, 12 miles, 10 miles from Madisonville or not. It seemed like that. It's probably like 6 or 7, but you had all the country roads to go through, go all the way out to the lake to see if, nope. And then you think you pass them. Was that a Pinto? Yeah. Turn around in the middle of the road and, that was fun. But anyway, that's how I started out. But
that's crazy. Who in the family was your? Now you said your granddad or your papa played mandolin. Were you a musical family?
He played. Right out of he was in the war. Got his eardrum busted from guns going off. He was too close to one on it. He was on a ship.
Right. Got
sent home. Started playing in bands in the late 40s, right when he got back. I got some old pictures of him.
Oh, I bet.
Man. And then he started playing with Wanda, who is Amy Sunshine's great-grandmother.
Okay.
Randall's grandmother.
Okay.
They are all family. Wanda White. My grandfather was a White, Jack White, J.P. White.
Uh-huh.
And so it was all that crew. And he ended up playing with her and a young man named Harold Hensley, who became the WSM announcer later, in the 60s, 70s, 80s. He went to Hiawassee College and lived with my grandparents.
Oh, wow.
They rented a room to him, and he ended up playing with them. It was Harold Hensley playing guitar and singing, my papa, Wanda, and another local, I forget his name, Carlton Scruggs. And they played all through like mid-50s to the early 60s. They played the Midday Merry-Go-Round.
Were they playing country music or were they playing bluegrass music? Or
country.
Yeah.
Which crossed over like... there's a little gospel in there.
Sure.
And
there was a lot of, I guess, what would that have been in the 50s? Yeah, there was a lot of religious, there was a lot of gospel influence. And I guess with being a mandolin, there was some bluegrass influence on that too. With I was probably... Louvin Brothers. There was a lot of crossover. During that time of trying to figure out.
I don't know much about the bluegrass influence on them.
Yeah, and not so much on them, but just
he wasn't a picker. He wasn't a fancy mandolin player.
He kept time and sang.
That's what I get.
Right. Gotcha.
But he could sing.
Right.
He had one of those authentic.
Yeah.
Country voices just I can still hear it. I've heard a few recordings.
So
and then it turned into gospel. He quit playing country music.
Yeah.
And Wanda went off. They formed a gospel group with her side of the Whites, and my mom and my papa formed their side. Played at our church. Wanda played at their church.
Okay.
And that's where they ended up in gospel. So I grew up listening to my papa, my mom. Yeah, and whoever was in the group playing, singing gospel at our church, and they'd go sing funerals, play other churches and all that, and you go with them to all that stuff. It was great, But then I started getting into Kiss and Aerosmith, and
well, I kind of had a similar upbringing with the gospel stuff and the church days, and yeah, not necessarily. My brother was he started like doing the ministry music thing really young, like at probably 17. and then had a church quartet, and that kind of thing. I've got one of his old records, actually. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But then later on, he went to be one of the founding members of the Kingdom Heirs in gospel music. And
I remember that. I remember that name.
And then, like by the time I was like 12, 13, they had a Silver Eagle and was going all over, and I hit that jump seat for the first time. And I was like, well, I know what I'm going to do.
So we have similar backgrounds.
Yeah, very much so. Hey, folks, if you're looking for a cool, eclectic place with an outside patio, plenty of UT sports games, cold beer, and live music on the weekends, then look no further than one of our homes away from home, Trailhead Beer Market, located at 1317 Island Home Avenue in South Knoxville, Tennessee. Trailhead is South Knoxville's first beer market, situated on the banks of the Tennessee River and in the backyard of the Urban Wilderness and Iams Nature Center. You can find more info on Facebook and Instagram about specials, live acts, and the goings-on, and be sure to tell them McGill and Jamie sent you, and have one more for the good guys.
What about you, Jamie?
Well, mine's a little different. I mean, my dad, on my dad's side of the family, they're from down there, and all of his dad sang and all of his brothers played. But it was, from what I gather, bluegrass gospel stuff, and then they messed around with some quartet stuff. I've got an old reel-to-reel that looks like a Fisher-Price toy, actually, but it's from like the 50s with them singing on it,
Oh, that's cool.
But I didn't know that till late after I started playing. My grandmother on my mother's side got me started playing. I remember just like it was today, I was like 7. She said, "You want to take piano lessons?" I was like, "Yeah." and that was the end of it, so, or the beginning. And, but I never got to hear any of that crowd play live because my granddad died the year before I was born, and all his brothers were old by the time.
Yeah.
I got to be musically coherent or whatever. But I'm sure Dad, having been Dad was born in 47 and lived down there, and then he taught at Vonore for 4 years. So that's how, I guess, where that picture with Alan came from. But I'm sure he knows some of those names you were mentioning, because his dad was like a constable and a big, everybody knew him kind of thing.
Oh, I'm sure. What was his last name again?
Akins.
Okay.
My granddad's name
Akins. There's a lot of
Akins. Yeah. My granddad's name was
Atkins and Akins.
Atkins and Akins. My granddad's name was Harvey Akins, but he went by Butch. But they called him Bigfoot because he never wore any shoes down there.
Oh, sounds right.
Yeah, and he was a constable for a while, and from what I understand, just the biggest bullshitter in Monroe County, So, yeah. But he died the year before I was born, and I didn't. He's big into politics, and one of those. And but Dad was down there obviously for, in that area for 23 years, I guess, straight. Yeah. He went to Hiawassee too.
Yeah.
Then UT. So I'll mention some of those names to him. I'm sure he'll be like, "Oh yeah, that was so and so." And what was the name of the gas station? Your dad?
Well, it was you pump them, but we pumped them. Because in the mid '70s, people just couldn't,
Yeah.
Because the self-service thing started.
Yeah.
People started pumping their own gas in the bigger towns.
Yeah.
And so, but the people pull up and just sit there.
Yeah.
So we ended up running out there, so it was we pump them. And then we opened another one up on the bypass. Literally, I would take my bicycle up to it. I ended up working there, by myself. When I was 11, 12, 13, had a big wad of cash, go out there and pump gas, put oil in the car. Little building about an eighth of size of this, just a little building, 3 gas pumps. But yeah, it was right on that was right on the bypass. The other one was kind of downtown, which you could throw a rock and hit it, but it was called You Pump 'Em Too. But we pumped them.
Yeah, I was telling who was it was on here the other I think it was Kimbrough, but we were talking about so my brother and them got kind of big and started being like one of the main attractions up in when it was still Silver Dollar City and then on into Dollywood.
I remember that. Yeah.
And so, I would take, there was a couple of different guys that I went to school with and, we get in free to Dollywood or Silver Dollar City. And back then, hell, you'd go up there and run all day, and
yeah.
And it was pretty cool to be able to take hey, yeah, man, we get to ride in on the bus. It's free and blah, blah, blah. Well, when they would be in the park doing their shows, we'd be out on the bus and they had a Bose. I mean, it was a nice stereo I'd ever seen,
Yeah.
With all the needles and the white gauges and everything. And we'd be out there listening to Van Halen. And listening to rock and roll and stuff.
I love that.
Yeah. So
I remember church was a huge part of our lives growing up in Monroe County, and we'd go to those Southern Baptist conventions in Nashville.
Oh yeah.
On a bus, a bunch of kids, go over there and they'd sing and preach in these huge auditorium, like arenas, really.
Yeah, it's probably at Vanderbilt, and I'd imagine.
I remember coming back on one trip. I was probably 14 or 15 because Highway to Hell came out.
Oh, hell.
And they were playing it constantly on their radio.
Yeah.
So on these trips, you just start singing, all the kids, 50 kids in the back of the bus, adults in the front. And I remember coming back. The last one I did, I was about 14 or 15, and we were coming back singing pop songs and rock songs. And started singing Highway to Hell, and I was just going, I was like, you guys are whole back of the bus, Highway to Hell. And I'm like, oh my God. And I remember the preacher came back. He goes, hey, kids. Hey, let's sing something more joyful. Okay. Let's. And I was just waiting for that. Everybody just seemed like it was just, it is. The lyrics are about, this is what can happen to you.
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, I want to go to hell. Back then, it didn't matter. You heard that refrain, and it was, I'm on the highway to hell. And that's
man, just that album cover.
Oh yeah,
it was pretty. I mean, for God-fearing little white boys like us.
Well, I had friends in high school that they I can't listen to that.
Yeah,
that's it's satanic.
Yeah.
Well, that in the early 80s, mid 80s, they would bus us from church downtown to either like Stokely or certain places. I think Thompson Bowling one time, to have these seminars talking about how bad rock music was for you, and they'd play stuff backwards. That was a big deal then, man.
Yeah. I never got in on any of those, but definitely went to Nashville several times to the Vanderbilt auditorium, or not auditorium, but where they play basketball.
Was that where the convention?
That's where they were
Southern
when
Baptist.
I was going down there. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
for the youth,
quite a bit older. It was in the 70s when I went.
Okay.
That last trip, I guess Highway to Hell came out in 79, 80.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the last one I went on.
It would have been 79, I think, because Back in Black came out in 80, and that had Hell's Bells on it, and that was after that.
That was another one. I had friends that were like, my parents won't let me listen to that. We're in sophomores in high school, juniors, and it's like,
oh, dude,
you know, Kings in Satan's Service, Kiss.
Yeah.
You met Knights in Satan's Service. That rumor was going around, and we were in middle school, and people on the bus would be saying it's like this guy had a Kiss radio, and this other kid's like, I can't listen to them because it's Kings in Satan's Service, and they worship Satan. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. I remember winning a T-shirt at the fair one year, and it was Dee Snider with the Bone, that album cover of Twisted Sister.
Oh yeah,
you know, and looked like a fucking freak anyway, big Jersey dude, you know,
in drag,
you know. But I remember, like, when I would want to wear that to school, I'd put another shirt on over top of it. I kept it hid. Not because I thought my mom and dad would. I didn't ever think that they would, like, you know, go crazy or jump my ass about it or anything. But I don't know. It was just taboo enough that I kind of felt like, I don't know if I should be wearing it, but it's fucking cool, man, you know, and I just seen the video, and I'm just like, I gotta wear it.
Oh, yeah, you had to wear it. You know, small town like our school was like, we had a vocational school that went in, and I took electronics. They did electricity and electronics, air conditioning, welding, and then, you know,
auto body.
Stuff like that. And I can't remember what they offered for the girls, but we were going to a concert, me and two guys that were 2 years ahead of me and my friend. We all, you know, were into music and kind of musicians, and we saw our electronics teacher downtown at a stoplight, and we flipped him off. And then hunched down behind the seats.
Yeah, he'll never know.
Monday morning, we went to, and the teachers, he was young. He was like 25. He goes, he called all our names. He goes, follow me. Took us to the principal's office for the vocational school, and the principal made us go to, you know, you need to go to church and bring a note to me. You know, that kind of behavior is unacceptable. And we were like, you know, I went to church anyway, but the other three guys didn't go to church regularly.
We weren't in school, dude.
I know. It didn't matter.
Yeah. Right.
So there was a fine line. I remember another incident where someone wore one of those Peterbilt shirts.
Oh,
I don't know if you guys remember, how's your Peterbilt?
Yeah.
With the truck on it.
Yeah.
And the principal made him turn it inside out. You couldn't really wear.
Wow.
I mean, and it wasn't a Catholic school. It was just the way it was in a small town.
Yeah.
You know, Budweiser shirts or anything that was a little racy, you couldn't do it in my town. You know, that, I mean, if we had known, we could have had that vocational school principal fired.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just like our parents were like, yeah, you can't flip off your teacher. If my parents never found out, I just brought in a note from my preacher. I made it up myself, signed it. Right? Anyway, so yeah,
that's funny. You reminded me of a story.
Well, you should tell it.
I'm gonna, because I hadn't thought about this in a million years. But so I was in Scouts, and we had went on a scout trip out to the Museum of Appalachia. And we were doing some kind of, I forget what it was. Maybe it was a knot tying class, or, you know, tying all the knots, and had all of them on a board and showing them off and showing people how to tie them and all this stuff. Something like that.
Like an agriculture class where they teach you how to do stuff like that.
Yeah. So, and then our scoutmaster, and my dad was, at that time, was patrol, or was assistant scoutmaster. And, you know, there's just kids out there having a good time, whatever. Well, we seen an art teacher, and his name was Harvey. Like his real name was Harvey. And we started, you know, tormenting this guy from the tents. You know, we'd unzip just the corner of one of the windows and be like, Harvey. You know, and you'd see him look around, and he was trying to figure out where it was coming from. And one of them, I said Harvey Wallbanger, because I'd probably heard it on like Three's Company or something, you know, as a drink or whatever. Yeah, I'll have a Harvey Wallbanger. You know, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. It's a perfectly good time to have a drink. Let me pour you one.
I saw that episode.
You know, it was every episode on TV. Every time somebody walked in, yeah, let me get you a drink. Like something to drink, you know. So one thing led to another, and this guy's just looking around trying to figure out where this is coming from. And we started calling him Harvey Ballbanger.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. And I don't know how, but we got in trouble. And he found out who it was. And we got called into the principal's office. And I still was going over here at East Knox at the time. So we were still, you know, this was pre-7th grade. Well, this would have been pre-8th grade. And nonetheless, we got our asses busted.
Yeah.
Wetzel lined us up and fucking 3 licks. Yeah. There you go, boys. Can't be doing that shit, you know. And it was just like kind of like what you said, you know, Mom, Dad, wow,
non-school
you
event.
shouldn't have done a.
It
wasn't no school event.
Yeah, I mean,
I could see getting in trouble from the scoutmaster, you know, and we had to do some kind of community service, or you know what I'm saying, or something to help out in the community, or some kind of punishment like that. But really,
well, not really. I mean,
well, we were on a scouting event.
If we had known about separation of church and state back then,
yeah, well,
but we didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's very similar story.
Yeah, very similar. But yeah, we got in there and lined up and just got our ass busted. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they busted our ass in high school.
With a board with a goddamn handle on it.
And probably holes in it.
Probably holes in it.
We got paddled in high school in Madisonville.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy I was telling you about, Jeff Giles, who I moved to California with, when he got sent to Tennessee, everyone loved him. He was a year older than me. Everyone loved him. He was super smart, just funny, and long hair, jet black hair. His mom was Japanese, you know. So he looked, you know, he had,
he looked different from all them Mayberry folks.
He did. He did. He got in trouble somehow, and he was like, "Wow, they paddle out here," you know.
Yeah.
And he goes, "That's maybe an elementary school in California, but nah."
Yeah.
It was, you know. And I was like, "Yeah, they paddle." Anyway, he told the principal, he's like, "No, you're not doing that to me." And his dad had to come down, and his dad, you know, he was like, "You're not going to hit my son with that board."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Well, then he can't come here." And he got kicked out of school. And he ended up moving back to California for that reason. But yeah, totally. You know, when I moved out there, it was a culture shock for me to move out there.
Well, you know, so getting back to that was,
we don't have to get back to that, but
well, not unless
I can't imagine what it was like for him to move to a small town.
Well, yeah, it would be equally
traumatizing.
It would be equally,
yeah.
So you leave Madisonville at 18, and where in California did you go?
It was the Bay Area.
Okay.
And I was kind of disappointed. I was hoping he'd be from L.A.
Right.
Because that's where all my heroes were from.
Yeah, because you
Andy Rose and Eddie. And, you know, you're like...
Yeah.
And
you needed a gig at the whiskey. So.
Yeah. But he was very convincing, and it's like, we can get gigs, and we'll, Bay Area's great, and, we might end up in LA. We can, I'm like, yeah, let's go. I'm there. But anyway, I forgot what your question was.
Just as an 18-year-old bright-eyed kid from Madisonville, I mean, it just had to be like, welcome to outer space, or welcome to America, or welcome to what the heck was it?
I didn't grow up. You guys grew up around Knoxville. You did. It was the kids seemed a lot more mature out there. You'd meet someone who was 16 and you would think they were 20 something.
Right.
And they just, because they didn't have an accent, they correct grammar, although they did use colloquialisms like rad and totally and all that stuff. But it was, it was a culture shock. I didn't open my mouth too much the first year I was there. And when I did, it was like, they loved it. Because, I really, East Tennessee, I lost it. But is Mike and Wright and, I had a really country drawl. Yeah. And Madisonville's very country.
Yeah, very much
so I was like really shy about how I sounded.
I'm sure, yeah.
But the girls loved it.
Yeah. Hey, man.
Yeah.
The dude abides.
Yeah,
new shit.
Sure do.
New shit has came to light.
Yeah,
man.
So I kind of played on that once I figured that out. But it was, I was very serious. I was out there to do the band thing and get a record deal. I wanted to go all the way.
Yeah, sure.
And it was all about, let's practice every day.
Right.
And it wasn't that at all.
Right.
But that was my, it was fun experiencing, partying and all this just West Coast vibe and all that stuff.
Seeing the ocean for the first time.
I was serious about it.
Seeing the
up there
in the Pacific. That's big difference in oceans.
Big difference.
Big fucking difference in oceans.
They weren't flat. They had lots of rocks and hills and nothing like out here.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time we went was at night. And we were all in our friend Rich's little VW, drummer in the front and the other three in the back. And we were smoking up and listening to the Beatles, Revolution, the later Beatles. And I'd never heard that, what they called the Quaalude version. Shuba dooba, say you want the slow version. I was like, whoa, what is this? But we were it was dark and we were going through this, just like driving in the country out here.
Yeah.
All of a sudden we reached the top of a hill. I was like, is that the ocean? And then we went down the side of a mountain and ended at Bodega Bay right there, and it was 30 minutes from where we lived. Yeah. So it was a 30-minute drive to the coast, which was great, but it was cold, very cold water, huge rock formations. Oh, yeah. And just totally different. I'm like, wow, this is, then a couple days later I went in the daytime and it was even more beautiful. But
that blue, there's not another blue like the Pacific.
No.
The Mediterranean's got its own thing, the Caribbean, the Atlantic, but that blue of the Pacific's just completely different, man.
It was huge sand dunes that we would go up and party in, sand dunes and jump off and roll. But they, the guys that I played with actually had a house right there at Salmon Creek, which was about a mile from Bodega Bay. They rented a house on stilts. There was all these pink hues and orange, like pastel colored.
Yeah.
And when I had called, the guy I moved out there with said, I'm ready to come out. He goes, cool, man. We got a house on the coast. And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, we'll write songs. But by the time I got out there, they lost it.
Oh, no.
Because the guy they rented with, one of their roommates didn't pay rent. He lost his job and they lost the place. So the first time we went out there, it's like, yeah, that's where you're supposed to be living. And I'm like, man, it would be really nice.
Did you do any gigs or tour with those guys or hook up with anybody else or head
south? Didn't tour. We just did gigs in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Played in San Francisco, played at the Stone on Broadway and the Rock. There was a place called the Rock on Broadway, kind of down the street on the other side. And then there was the Mabuhay Gardens, which was a punk bar, famous punk place where everybody played, kind of like the Pilot Light, but bigger.
Right.
And, but the Stone was like, major acts played there. It was like, 600 seater, but it was the pay to play. Yeah. They give you tickets. You get a gig there and they'd give you 100 tickets and say, you got to sell these. You got to sell this many in order to play here. So you'd end up buying or asking a parent, can you pitch in $40? They were like $5 a piece, and you had to sell them to play. So you ended up, you get a bunch of friends to go up there. I think the first time we played at the Stone, there was about 25 people there in a huge venue. We're just having a blast.
Of course, yeah. Were you writing songs and stuff? Or?
Oh yeah, I was all about writing songs. That was what I wanted to do.
Right. Where did that come from, do you think?
Looking at records and going, looking at the back of records, reading the liner notes. Yeah. Like, okay, Tyler and Perry wrote this song.
Right.
Oh, the drummer that's interesting. He wrote this song.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just got into it and I'm like, well, we got to write original songs if we're going to play it. But we did a bunch of covers too.
Yeah.
But I wrote a few songs in Madisonville before I moved out there. And it's funny, the first complete song I ever wrote was like a Texas swing kind of song. This older friend of mine showed me, he was playing acoustic guitar one day in that music store I was telling you about I worked at briefly. And I go, show me those chords. It was a progression. It was like a ding, 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 da 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 ba ba da ba da. And I'm like, I want to learn those. It was a bunch of seventh chords.
Yeah.
And totally Texas swing kind of stuff. And I wrote lyrics about moving to California with that chord progression he showed me. And that was like the first real song I ever wrote. Right. It was like a country song.
That's great.
Yeah.
Did you play it out there, Annie?
Me and Jeff played it at a couple parties, and but not really. No, I mean, it was like just a novelty thing.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I remember playing it at parties, but not at a show.
Right.
But I actually played it when I moved back to town out here a couple times.
Yeah.
But anyway.
That's great. It's always interesting, how, what everybody's, not just their physical journey, but, like I say this a lot on our podcast is like, we've known each other a long time, but normal talk is venue talk or bar talk or
where you're screaming.
You don't really get to you don't get to hear the story about flipping the driver ed teacher off or whatever the hell it was. You know what I'm saying? Or the art teacher or just the fact that I couldn't imagine just the wherewithal or the guts to like, just because I don't know, just the thoughts about, yeah, it is 3,000 miles away. And yeah, it is going out. And yeah, it is what I want to do. You know, I didn't know nothing. I didn't know shit from apple butter at that. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't have a...
That's normal.
I mean, yeah. Well, I guess so, but it's... Long story short, it's just very interesting to get to hear, you know, a lot of folks' background and know that you know, yeah, we played music at our house. My dad, my grandpa, or my aunt, my mom, my this, and so
you got into it late, didn't you?
Yeah, I started playing banjo when I was like probably about 11. And of course, you know, I got into stringed instruments really late, pretty much, but I was always a band geek in school, and I was always in chorus and choirs and all that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So when I was in 8th grade, I got picked because they were light in the brass section. I got picked to go play in the marching band in high school and concert band. So, you know, when I went there the first time, you know, it's like I'm sitting on and Jamie knows where this is at because we went in the same school, but I'm sitting on the back of there's steps coming out of the back of the band room and choir room. And there's an access road that drives up beside of it that goes back to where the loading dock of the cafeteria and all that stuff is. Well, now there's a big track back there and all this real nice stuff. But back then, it was just the back way into the joint, you know, to the school. And I remember being an 8th grader and setting up on the handrails. And here come a K5 Blazer with, you know, the Ruger emblems and Bocephus wrote across the window, and here comes a Camaro, and here's a Mustang, you know, or here's an old International, you know, and all these dudes pull in, and, you know, they get out and they've got on long sleeve rock and roll t-shirts and shit kicker cowboy boots, and you know, and I'm just like, oh shit, I'm not in Kansas anymore. You know? I'm this little towhead, still 14-year-old, you know. Or no, I guess I was 13. You know, I might have weighed 135 pounds, 140 pounds, you know, just this little kid. And so seeing all that and Iron Maiden t-shirts and Boston and, you know, all the things of the time they're pulling in, Bob Seger's playing or whoever, you know, and seeing all that at the time was like, well, banjo ain't the coolest thing in the world to lead with here, you know. Well, I played the banjo. Of course, I don't know. I don't know if I was just dumb enough that I didn't know a lot of fear or I just didn't care. But, you know, as soon as I seen them pull in, I was like, I got to get on these guys' good sides. And, you know, they're juniors and seniors. And luckily, I was able to do so. And one of the first band competition trips we went on, I was still in 8th grade. And somehow or another, it came out. I did play banjo. Well, they were bringing guitars and all this stuff. And we just rode the damn elevator in the Nashville Sheridan. And every time the doors would pop open, they'd make me play like Foggy Mountain Breakdown or fucking Rocky Top or something.
Shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, well, you know, can't argue with them.
Did you know you could sing back then? I mean, you were in choir.
Yeah, I think I always kind of felt like that was my real, you know, the thing that I could do really good. I mean, I was a good brass player. I was a pretty good banjo player, but I knew I could sing, but I didn't know I could have peanut butter and jelly with the guitar and stuff until I was probably like 22. You know, I was quite a bit older.
That's normal.
You know.
I mean, you know. Yeah.
But, yeah, I love to sing.
That's young. Yeah. 22 is young.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure when you got into it, though. That's why I asked.
Well, you know, all the way through school, it was every elective I could take was music, you know, so it was always kind of there, I guess. And then, like I said, about 22, 23, well, no, I guess I was a little older than that when I really picked it up. I was probably about 25. And I was going to church over at this place on Tazewell Pike. And there was this guy there, Johnny Miller. And, man, I never heard anybody play guitar like that, you know. And he was a good singer, not a great singer, but a really good singer. And he started playing me all that stuff of Tony Rice and all this shit. And I was just like, God damn, I never knew a guitar could do. I never knew anybody could do that with one of those. That's what my dad plays. I knew about Wang Dang, thank you, ma'am, you know, and all the electric stuff.
But, even Roy Clark and Glenn Campbell played electric guitars.
Yeah, but it was different.
In a band situation, you know, and on Hee Haw, which I would be like, oh my God. Glenn Campbell was like,
Merle Haggard said Glenn Campbell was the perfect example that God gives some people too much talent.
Yeah.
Was what Merle Haggard said about Glenn Campbell.
Yeah, he was huge when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Of course, I heard, you remember of course you remember the Folsom Prison record, Johnny Cash, you know, the 1968.
Yeah.
They would play that on TV like through the 70s, that special.
Which was actually recorded on January 13th in 1968.
Was it January 13th?
Coming up this
1968.
Weekend, yeah.
So you know a lot about that. So I saw that. It was probably a rerun because I was probably 9, 8.
Yeah.
I was 4 in 68. Well, January is still 3, but so it was later. It was in the 70s.
Yeah.
And who played that lead? Who was playing guitar? Perkins.
Yeah.
It wasn't Luther Perkins.
Yeah.
That was one of the moments when he went into that lead on Folsom Prison Blues.
Yeah.
I was like dumbstruck. I was just Godsmack going, Gah.
Yeah.
That simple lead just changed my life. And we had that, then I got that record, and me and my cousin would jump around with tennis rackets, you know, 8 years old, 9 years old, and listen to that record. But that lead, I'm like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Whatever he made that do. Anyway.
Yeah.
Back around to the guy at church.
Well, I think what I was doing was, during that time was, I was around all this music, but I was around all the singing side of it. And so I figured I found out I had a voice.
Yeah.
So what I was doing during my high school years was I was taking chorus and choir and everything in high school, and singers and handbells, band, orchestra, marching, you know, everything. But with popular music, I was learning how to sing every harmony part.
Oh, that's important.
So I was, I was developing my ear with my mentor, who was tremendous in high school, you know, of learning how to properly sing and how to, you know.
Who was your mentor?
His name was William Melton, Dr. Melton. And he's still alive, as far as I know.
Yeah.
But he was just, he was, he had a doctorate in music and could have taught at any university, state ran or private and otherwise. But he was a high school educator, and he was just so smart. You know, and I've told this story before, but it's something you can appreciate. And when I told it to Jamie for the first time, he was like, I never knew that you all were doing stuff like that. But, you know, we had probably a 60-piece choir, and he would take each section and just walk over to the piano and play a chord and just say, okay, altos, you sing this. Sopranos, here's your note. Here's your note. Here's your note. Baritones. Here's your note. Tenors. Here's your note. Bass. And then he would be like, "Okay, McGill, you and Joe and Bob there, you be the first tenors, and I want you to sing this note while everybody's still holding their original note." Mm-hmm. And then it'd be like, "Altos, you move down a half step." And then, so he would make us do that as 60 pieces, but sing and tell us that was a diminished chord, or this is a minor, or this is a seventh, or here's a fifth.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And then bring it all back around, back to the major to have, you know, to have some kind of assortment of a finish to and it just blowed my fucking mind, you know. So when I'd hear the Beach Boys, or I'd hear, you know, I wanted to learn all those parts. I wanted to hear, you know, Huey Lewis blew my mind because they were doing harmony stuff like that.
They were
in the secular world.
The Eagles did it.
The Eagles the same way. Yeah. You know, and several other folks that, you know, I'm not naming right now, but that's what I wanted to do. I knew I could sing. But then when I heard that guy play guitar, I was like, well, I ain't ever going to do that, but I can play and sing guitar. And so I started listening to some like bluegrass stuff, and I was like, well, I could do that one. Yeah. So I'd learn that one, you know, and I'd pick one maybe that was equally as hard, or maybe, you know, or maybe learn two or three more that was equal to that one that I just learned. And then I'd pick something that would challenge me a little bit to try to learn this next one, you know. And Johnny was very instrumental in helping me and showing me things. And
that's cool. You
rhythm patterns and different, you know. But again, I mean, it was still, I knew I was never going to, I never wanted that side of the guitar. I wanted to be the nose guard and the singer. I wanted to play rhythm and sing.
Oh yeah,
you know, which is
there's
a complete art.
Pick your part.
Is a complete art.
Pick your role. That's, you know. Did you guys go? You guys the same age? You guys the same school?
We went to the same school. Yeah, Carter.
Yeah, Jamie's 2 years younger than me? 3 years.
I'm 49.
Were you in band too?
No. I was I did the opposite of the way he did it until I got to college. Well, I started playing piano when I was 7, and you know, took classical lessons, learned to read music, and did all that. And then when we officially met, he was married to a buddy of mine's sister, and we played a couple times together at the house there, you know. But at that point, I had started playing out, and I was like,
he was light years ahead. He was
musically speaking.
Yeah, I mean, not to hijack your story, but
I started playing out in my 16 opinion here in this area with another guy.
16.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with another guy that we went to school with, that was in my grade, played bass, and his brother, and this guy's family had a singing group too. They weren't nearly on the, you know, as popular as the Kingdom Heirs, but they still, and this guy played mandolin in that group as a kid. I don't know if you knew that or not, but
Yeah, I seem like I remember that.
Yeah, so I started playing in bands when I was 16 and played, till I went, and I started college when I was 16 too. And
you're one of those.
Yeah, the second year I was there.
Any more at 18 than he's forgot now. I mean, honestly, in my opinion. Well, I don't know if that's accurate. But
I mean, it to some degree.
To hear him play back then, it was just like, well, hellfire,
All right.
Yeah, I mean, and it was, relative, to nobody else played really around us, played piano. But so when I go, where it comes together kind of is that when I got to college, I discovered all these electives in music, and I thought, well, hell, I'm going to take all those I can because that's cakewalk there because I could read. I already knew music theory, could sight read and do all that. And I was in a music theory class, and they needed an accompanist for the choirs at Pellissippi. And she was asking people in the class who plays piano, and this girl said, well, I've been playing for, I don't know how long she said. And I was like, well, I got you by about 5 years. But we both kind of got that job, and eventually she kind of faded out. So I played for the choirs, all the choirs at Pellissippi for off and on for years. And so I got into the choral department there and took all the electives there. See, when I was at Carter, and this was probably because I was so musically involved outside of school, it didn't dawn on me that, because I never thought about it, that we had a choral department, because I never heard them. I mean, it wasn't like we were going to, I knew we had a band.
Didn't have recitals where the whole school went and watched the choir. That's what we had.
Not that I ever went to.
I mean, we had that. We had all those for like after school events where parents and, everybody came.
And I knew we had a band, a marching band. But of course, this is just me being a kid, not knowing any better. But I mean, if you were in a band, I was like, I play real music. At that point, I was like, listen, it's great. But I wish I had been in band. And learned something else.
Me too. I avoided it. I didn't want to do it.
And it seems like in middle school, you had an option to be in band or something else. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, I never got into that. Never played. And I can play saxophone a little, and I can get by on stuff. I can play it, but nowhere near the level where I could play with a band or anything. So we and then the harmony thing, even though I was in choir, and, harmonies are obviously on what that's all about. And what he was doing in high school, we were doing in college with that stuff. I mean,
so Dr. Melton taught a theory class my senior year. I mean, I took theory in high school.
If I'd have known we'd had that, they desegregated the schools, so I had to leave and go somewhere else. And actually, Holston had a great band teacher there as well, but neither here nor there. By then, I was good enough to where I could play, and girls noticed, and I was going to play what I was playing.
Yeah.
But he turned me on to bluegrass harmony music. And in one car ride we had going to one of their family events, and I was like, God almighty. He had this Doyle Lawson tape. He's like, you need to hear this. And I listened to it. That changed my life. I was like, oh.
Yeah. Well, and I wasn't afraid to share that with him because I knew he was a music fan. It didn't have to be. It was kind of like those. It's kind of like what I found out later about those guys in the Firebird and the Novas, and they were music fans. They weren't just band guys, but they were fans of music, all kinds of different music, which. Unfortunately, because if it's not popular, kind of pigeonholes you into where you don't think of it. But I wasn't afraid to play that for him, and it was an all gospel record too. It wasn't like it was.
Well, you had two of them. You had that Heard the Angels Sing, and then you had that gospel collection, and I went out and bought the tapes, and then I went and bought the CDs when that came along. I was like, whoa! I even took it to my mentor in college. I was like, listen to this. Because she was a barbershop person. Sweet Adeline's, like big time. They were doing these international competitions and stuff. So she was a music fan. Now, I couldn't have taken that to my regular choral director because she would have been like, oh, well, that's not
bluegrass.
So, but this lady, her name's Anna Miller, and she's a music fan, cellist, one of the top piano teachers in Oak Ridge. She did it all. She's like, oh yeah, So I was like, our paths kind of crossed, and then, what he did in high school, I just missed completely out on because I didn't know anything about it. I wish I did. I wish I'd have done that. Yeah. I would have loved to play trumpet. That would have been probably what I would want to play.
Yeah. I mean, I was first chair a couple of different times, all state. And the same with choir, but
they offered music theory in your high school.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, we had in my high school they had choir and then band, and that's pretty much. They had theater, but that was pretty much it in the art department. Yeah. Besides art, which I took art class, but. I started taking choir, got in choir junior year and senior year, and I ended up playing bass.
Really?
The forget his name. God, the music teacher, skinny guy. We called him Ichabod Crane. Ichabod was his nickname. What was his? Can't remember his name, but he taught band and choir. And I remember him taking us over to the piano, same as you.
Yeah.
And but he was like, sing this note, Kevin. I'm like, I can't. And he goes, yeah, you can. Open your mouth. Somehow I ended up playing, my senior year, I ended up playing bass and choir and singing too. But on 2 or 3 songs, I borrowed my friend's bass. And I wasn't really a bass player. I just faked it. I could play guitar, so I figured, but that was all they offered as far as music.
Now, did you take guitar lessons when you were coming up, or you just had the grit and the desire?
My papa wrote down 3 chords.
Yeah.
When I got a guitar, which was a silver tone hollow body, which I still have.
Yeah.
Wrote down. I still have the chords he wrote down for me.
That's awesome, yeah.
In pencil.
I have some of my dad's old notebooks of his songs and stuff in his handwriting. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
I practiced those. He goes, practice these for about 3 weeks, and then we'll give you 3 more. And he gave me 3 more. Taught me how to strum.
Yeah.
Just, I was just like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
And then I remember buying the sheet music to More Than a Feeling by Boston at the music store in Athens, Tennessee. And it had the chords, atop of the note. I took piano 4 or 5 years, but I played by ear. I would just learn the piece by ear, watch and listen to the teacher, and then just
memorize it.
I could read, but I didn't like to do it.
Yeah.
And I remember playing a recital where we did a duet, her and I together. And I remember her turning the page, and I was just like acting like I was looking at it. That was at Hiawassee College. I'll never forget that. And, but then when I wanted a guitar, as my papa showed me, and I just started picking up stuff, watching people, and, I was really shy about it. I didn't want to play in front of anybody. I was just so bashful.
Yeah.
To even about piano, I was so weird about it. in sixth grade. I started taking piano in third grade. And I remember when I got in middle school, there was a teacher in school who gave piano lessons in a little room, like a closet, kind of. It was right beside shop class. And I'd go down there and be playing, and the older students would be taking shop, and they'd be there wasn't a doorknob, it was just a hole. Even in the winter, it was cold in there.
Yeah.
And they'd be looking through and like saying stuff through the little hole and make them. And I'd get called out at sixth grade something. I forgot what class it was, to halfway through to go take the piano lessons. And it always embarrassed me.
Yeah.
Because girls took piano, it seemed, it was just, I just went, oh God. I just cringed and got up, okay, and would go out to, but that was the last year I took piano, sixth grade. And I told my teacher I was quitting and wanted to play guitar, that kind of thing. And, I did. They were group classes. This guy taught guitar at Hiawassee College, and I knew some stuff by then. I think it was like eighth grade, and I acted like I didn't know anything. And it was like 30 people in this class, and he was up there playing. He was a finger picker too. He was really good.
Yeah.
And he was playing like Jim Croce and stuff. I was like, wow, that's good.
Yeah.
And I was taking this class with a friend of mine who knew I could play. He's like, you know this stuff. You know the D chord. He knows it. He'd point. I'm like, and I'd freak out. Don't call me out. It really messed with me because I was so shy about it.
Right.
Remember my mom saying, come out and play that Boston song you learned. Her friends were over. I was like, no.
Yeah.
I was in my room like, no way. It was just, that's how I was until, even when I was like older, I was really shy about it, and I finally got over it.
I was that way with singing. I would stand in I'd stand in the back of the house. When they'd say, "Hey, why don't you sing that George Jones song, or whatever it was, and I'd go to my room, which is in the back of the house, and I'd sing it loud enough to where
you sing it from your room, but you do it.
I'd do it, but I'd have to sing it in there where nobody would look at me,
Oh wow, very similar. Yeah. I wanted to be a singer, and I love like the Jackson 5 and the Osmond Brothers and Partridge Family. I watched religious. I just like. Family band?
Yeah.
You just go around in a bus and playing music. I was just ate up with it.
Yeah.
And I would sing to records when I was like 9 years old. I'd be in the living room singing. I remember our babysitter came in and she snuck in and goes, you sound really good. And I was like, oh, do that again. I'm like, ran away.
Yeah.
I was like, no way.
Yeah. I remember doing that with a lot of the, with my brother's cassettes and albums, with the quartet. And I would try to sing, I'd try to learn and sing every part because they might need a fill in one day,
But you secretly did it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. As I got older and got my car, it was a safe space to listen to music, as loud as you wanted or experiment with singing or figuring stuff out, never did that at home in my room, or unless I was playing banjo or something, then I would, clang, 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 and, rewind, clang, 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 rewind, clang, 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 or move the needle back, that kind of thing. But
move the needle back.
Yeah. Hello, music lovers. Campbell's Music Room Guitars was opened and founded by our longtime friend Kyle Campbell back in 2017. If you're a beginner or a seasoned pro, you're always needing something. From strings, picks, or maybe a repair to your trusty instrument. Campbell's Music Room Guitars has a full line of all the stringed instruments. New and pre-owned, accessories, pedals, amplifiers, and here's the best part. It's a local, family-owned business where you will get the very best of sales and service from the owner himself. Campbell's Music Room Guitars has something for everyone. Did we mention that he also gives private lessons? Kyle is one of Knoxville's most multi-talented players and teachers with many years of professional teaching experience. Located at 5103 Kingston Pike, open Tuesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Give Kyle a call at 865-584-0041 or stop by and tell him McGill and Jamie sent you and you wanted to have one more for the good guys. Tell you, a concert I remembered at the fair, speaking of one of those fair concerts, was I seen Marty Stewart way back when that, when he had, Tempted and That's Country and what else is the other one? He did the remake of Cry, Cry, Cry with Cash. And
is that when he gave the record label the finger, said, I'm going to do what I want to do?
No, way before
that.
A little before then. But I guess that Here's a Quarter was one of his big songs at the time, and but I remember being at that show and just thinking, man, I mean, it's not near the band he has now, but just thinking, wow, that's it right there. That's the coolest shit I've seen in ever probably.
I felt that way about Ronnie Millsap's band when I saw him there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
God.
I've never seen Ronnie.
Charlie Daniels. I saw Charlie Daniels twice at the fair. Band was good.
Yeah, he always did a good show.
That's back when you didn't have to pay extra. You got to pay at the fair, then you had to buy a ticket. That was back when you just first come, first serve, I saw Dolly at the fair, Barbara Mandrell.
Charlie Daniels was totally different in the 70s,
Oh, man.
That
call up Trudy on the telephone.
I mean, his band was killer, and all that, his stardom came maybe 10 years after they started.
Yeah.
I want to say 10 years, a good 10 years, 8,
Yeah. Well, he was a session guy.
Yeah.
In Nashville. I mean, evidently he played every damn thing. I went to the Hall of Fame one year. Me and Robbie, I had a gig down in Crossville like the night before. I had a gig like on a Saturday in Crossville, and I called up Rob and I said, hey man, I got this gig down in Crossville and I'm off the next day. I said, they put me up in a room down there. I said, you want to drive down to the Hall of Fame the next day? I said, I've never been, and this was
this in the new building, the new Hall of Fame?
Yeah, this was just like, this would have been like in 16.
Okay, so yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was totally the new one.
Yeah.
And we went to the old one as well, just to, check, or not, excuse me. I think they moved the old. What'd they do? Is that right? Or am I just, any rate?
Well, the new one's right there next to the stadium.
Right. Yeah. But there's the room they've got built. Isn't there a room that they've gotten built that's just like the old round one?
Yeah, I think so.
That where you go in, you see all like the original busts, or not the busts, but the plaques and stuff of everybody.
I don't recall.
I think it's right. When you come out of the exhibit and you go down, you get back downstairs, and I think if you go left, but any rate, what was so funny was we had went on a trip to Texas earlier that year to see Tennessee play Texas A&M. Our buddy Carl's a big he's an A&M graduate and alum, and he wanted to take us down there to show us his old haunts and, meet some of his old buddies and give us the treatment. And so we went on this road trip. Well, we got down there, and I'll say this, for all you football fans and the people that are going to the games and stuff, if any of you Tennessee fans act half as class, with half the class and half the graciousness that the A&M people do when you're welcomed at their place, it was the most extraordinary sport visit that I had done. I mean, it was just, you were not a competitor. You were treated like somebody. It was just so cool, to get that.
But you were wearing orange.
Oh, dude, I was in overalls and cut-off T-shirt and
but
orange bandana and...
Listen.
They wear burnt orange.
That's Texas. That's the Longhorns. Yeah.
But that's what I meant.
If you tell people, every time I've ever been to Texas, you tell them you're from Tennessee, buddy. You're somebody. There ain't no Texas without Tennessee.
Well,
only state to have, only one man's been the governor of 2 different states. Yeah. That's Sam Houston.
Sam Houston, man.
Well, this is a little off, but it's a perfect segue. This also happened on that trip. So I'm at the concession stand. Now I've done had a couple of gummies. I got my vape pen. I'm pretty stoned. And I get up there to the concession stand and this guy turns around and he's like, "Oh, you're from Tennessee?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "My name's Jim, Jim was in you or whatever, the fuck." And but third generation Aggie, 1984 graduate, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. I mean, that's the way all of them introduced themselves if they were alumni. And I said, "Well, I'm Mike McGill, 100% hillbilly. Go big orange, And he goes, "I'll tell you what," he said, "I haven't missed a home football game in like 20 something years." And he goes, "I have never seen this amount." And he stopped. And he was going to say this amount of support shown by a visiting team. And he said, "I've never seen this amount." And I said, "What, Tennesseans since about 1837? Ooh. And dude, he lost it. He started dying laughing. He goes, "Damn, that's a good one." I was like, "Yeah, hot off the presses, dude."
I tell you, I spent a lot of time in Texas playing music year before last, actually.
Oh, yeah.
And, man, it's so friendly down there. Mm-hmm. I mean, just very genuine.
Yeah, I think so too. People. I was treated really, really good down there. But to tie this all in, and I'll make it quick. So we're at this place called Dudley's Draw, and it's on campus at A&M in College Station. And I had walked outside, and I mean, a pitcher of Shiner was like $8, So you all know what we did, right? We drank a lot of those pitchers.
But you can't get a pitcher anymore.
No, but you can get it at Dudley's Draw, and it was Shiner. Not even Shiner Bock. It was Shiner beer. And,
okay. Yeah.
There's a difference. So, and I never had it. When in Rome, you do what you're supposed to do, right? So I told the guys, I said, "I'm going to walk outside and I said, smoke a cigarette or something." And I walked outside. Well, these 2 people came walking up to me. And I'm standing out on this patio, this little bar. And I got on sunglasses. I got on my cowboy hat, my straw Gus hat, Stetson. I got on a pair of overalls, cut off T-shirt, orange bandana hanging out of my back pocket, cowboy boots, sunglasses. It's like 8:00 at night. They're prescription sunglasses. I can't see shit without my glasses. So I just forgot I even had them on. And I'm standing out on this patio, and these 2 people walk up to me and they go, pardon us, but we wanted to come up and say hello." I said, "Well, hey, how y'all doing?" And I turned around and shook their hands, And have I told you this?
Oh, but I don't.
Okay. So I said, "Well, hey, how y'all doing? Nice to meet you." And the man looks at me and he goes, "I just want to thank you for all the contributions you do and for all the stuff that you do for our university." And they were Tennessee fans. And I said, Well, you're welcome. It's my pleasure. I didn't miss a beat, Hell, I was drunk already. I just going on with her story. I ain't gonna fuck a man's story up, Hell, what kind of guy would you be? That's real 101 in storytelling. You don't mess another man's story up, whether you know it's full of shit or not, right? So I was just like, well, you're welcome. I love the Big Orange, or something. I said something. And he said, we've got another couple that's with us, and we came down here. We're all Tennessee fans. He said, we'd love to get a picture made with you if it'd be possible. And I said, yeah, that'd be fine. That'd be fine. It'd be just fine, folks. And they looked at them, waved them over, and here they come. And so then they came up, and they had to start talking, But still, I had no idea who these people thought the hell I was. But I was just going with it, Evidently, I was a pretty big deal to hear them talk about it. So I was just going along with it. And finally, they're just kind of making over me and everything. And I finally said, now, listen, we going to get this picture made? I said, I normally get paid for this kind of shit. and they got a big chuckle. And they're like, yeah, let's go right over here and get the picture. So, there's both the ladies. I got my arms around them, and the husband's on the other side, and I'm smiling when they take 2 or 3 pictures. I was like, well, it was a pleasure meeting you folks. I'm going to go back in here with my party. And, okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We love you. We're big fans. I said, love y'all too. Go Big Orange. I just turned around and walked back in. So I called Robbie up on that trip, and I said, hey, let's go to the Hall of Fame the day after that little show in Crossville. We get down there, and we're going through, we get finally up to the top floor, and it's it was the Nashville Cats. So the A session, the players, and they had a big tribute to Bob Dylan with the Nashville Skyline Rag, and then they were documenting all the session players during that time, and Charlie Daniels was one of them that was in there. So I read a bunch of stuff about that, and I turned the corner and I seen this orange Les Paul with a big white power tee on it, and Charlie Daniels' cowboy hat. And I was like, son of a bitch, those fuckers from Texas thought I was Charlie Daniels.
Oh my God.
I guarantee you.
They didn't see
would it have been? And I had the big hat on and everything that night I met him. I'm in sunglasses, big beard, big
So you were Charlie Daniels for 20 minutes.
I was Charlie Daniels for 20 minutes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
They didn't see the age difference?
Framed at home.
When was this?
This was in 2016.
Those people have that picture framed at home.
Yeah.
And look, when we met Charlie Daniels, somebody's like, that's not gay, is he? Told us it was Charlie.
Yeah, and I never did.
Oh my God.
But yeah, that's the only person. That's the only person I can think they thought who I was.
Had to be.
Wow.
But if there was a Letterman's jacket with his name, in his little display.
Charlie would have been like
Les Paul.
75, and he was still alive.
Yeah.
And he was playing there? What the Crossroads, what was that?
Now say that again. Ask me again. What?
You said you went down to the Crossroads bar. What was the place where the guitar was hanging up? And
this was at the Hall of Fame in Nashville. They had. So
I'm way off here.
Okay, so later on after that trip, I went in and told the guys. I was like, I don't know who these people thought I was, but I told them the story.
Okay, I got you.
So Rob and I went to the Hall of Fame months later after that, and maybe the next year, I don't remember.
That's fantastic.
I turned the corner and I was reading all this stuff about Charlie Daniels being this session player, bass player, steel guitar, fiddle, and all this stuff. And I turned the thing, and there was this display of all the stuff that he had given to the Hall of Fame.
Hadn't he left us by
No, he was still alive in 2016.
Okay. I thought this story was like way before that.
Oh, no. This was in 2016.
Okay.
He was still living at the time.
Yeah, he died in 20. I just looked it up, and he would have been 79, 80 in 16.
Okay.
So,
but another and the other reason I think that's who they thought I was playing Trailhead one night. And I came walking across the road with my guitar and my backpack on. I had my guitar. And I seen this lady, and she just kind of was like, kind of scooched down and said something to her husband or her date or whoever the guy was that was with her. And they kind of chuckled, smiled, not really laughed aloud or anything, but just kind of smiled. And me being me, I just was like, hey lady, what are y'all talking about? And she turned red, and embarrassed her. And I was like, what are y'all talking about? She goes, I was telling him you look just like Charlie Daniels. And I said, well, that's the kindest I've ever been told how old I look, because that son-of-a-bitch died a year and a half ago.
And he was probably close to...
Oh, he had died already.
But he was old. I mean...
Yeah.
He died. He was 83 when he died?
Yeah.
80, I was going to say close to 80.
I was like, that might be the kindest way anybody's told me I look
and
that old.
I was telling you guys during the break that worked in that deli.
Yeah.
He came in there once. He's much taller than you.
Oh, yeah. I imagine
at least
so.
6 feet. He's at least 6 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where was this? So how this was in Nashville, and at the break, we weren't rolling, but you'd said that just all kinds of folks come in. You'd mentioned Lauren Morgan,
worked in this deli,
Kix Brooks and Ronnie Dunn.
Sandwich shop, which a huge place called Substop, and windows all around, and it was near music. It was Music Row basically at the split there, and during lunch, it was all music people that came in there. Publishers, managers, musicians, demo singers.
Right.
That was half the crowd that came in there. And it was a very busy place. And you never knew who was going to come in there. Charlie Daniels came in there with his wife at the time.
He was super nice.
And I waited on him. And he was old then. He was way older than you are now.
Yeah, I know, man. I mean,
that was in 99, 98. I worked there from like 94 to 2000. And yeah. Wow.
Long story short, I guess in 2021, I looked 83.
That's what
Well, I'm only 52.
You're 51?
I'm 52.
You are 52.
Yeah. Not 83.
Damn.
What? Okay, so you stayed. How long did you stay in California?
5 years, precisely 5 years. Yeah.
And then you came back straight here, or you went somewhere else, or what'd you do?
I moved back to my hometown. I played in a country band, which was like way different than what I was doing. The guy I was telling you about that showed me those chords that I wrote the Texas swing kind of song from.
Yeah.
He was literally like at 10 years. All my musician friends in my hometown were the guys who, like my mentors and
Charlie Daniels' age.
They were all like 4 to 10 years older than me, and he was one of them. And he was playing bass for this gal who was a singer, Lisa Diana was her stage name, and she was the older sister of a guy I went to school with. Remember the story about flipping our electronics teacher off and going to the print? Her younger brother, Mike, was one of the guys that It was we went to that concert together. We were going to the concert, flipped off the electronics teacher and all that. It was his older sister who this guy was playing bass for. I moved back to Madisonville, which again was a culture shock reversed. You know, I had hair down to here. I was 23 years old.
Back in time.
I was 18 when I moved, and I said, I just want to play. You need a guitar player. And he goes, yeah, we do, but her brother Mike is playing too. And I go, I don't want to play with another guitar. I was just full of myself.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, we're having a practice out at Watts Bar Lake. That's where she lived. She lived out near Watts Bar Lake, and I went out there and I said, I'll play, but I'm not going to play with another guitar player. Because there was already a keyboard player, bass player, and I was like, and Mike, who I knew, and he was a guy I grew up with, he was like, what? I go, that's the deal. I was full of myself. I was an asshole, I guess. And I didn't think he was very good, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember showing him his first chords and stuff. And it was just weird. It was a weird time. I got in that band and we played in Chattanooga a lot, in Cleveland, Tennessee.
Well, you just came back from somewhere where it was so competitive to survive.
I was egoed out, you know.
And a little bit of that as well, I'm sure. And then these guys just wanted to, you know, play at the VFW or something.
Just telling you that story, it just reminds me what an asshole I was. You know, I was a different person. I really was. Sure. And I was just like,
he's also 23. I mean, for Christ's sakes.
And,
you know,
played in that band and for about a year, and then I ended up moving to Knoxville. And I've been I moved down to Atlanta in 91, late 91, after a stint with a band in Knoxville. Heavy metal band, Shag Nasty was the name of the band. Yeah, it's a long story. Yeah.
Well, it's your story, and you can tell it if you like. Or we can take the cliff notes, nonetheless. So that's
how I ended up here. Yeah. I said, I got to move to a bigger town. It was weird living in Madisonville after being in California.
Oh, I'm sure.
But yeah, the band was Lisa Diana and the Contraband. It was
all right.
Late 80s. It was fun. It was a quick year, you know, and it's like, I got to get out of this. And but the keyboard player was from Cleveland, Tennessee. I don't remember his name. Wilford something. He was incredible. And we played half covers and half of her originals. And he just had it. He could sing and play, and we featured him in the set. And I remember playing this song. I want to know if you guys remember this song called The Left Side of the Bed. Something gray, country song. On the left side of the bed.
I don't remember that.
Lays a pillow cold as stone. Just a fantastic song. I'm like, and it wasn't a huge, you know, this guy had a record deal and he wanted to, I thought it was so cool that he covered that song because it wasn't a big country star. But he did a few other songs too. And that's the reason I just stayed in that band, because of that guy. He was incredible.
Mark Gray was the guy.
Mark Gray.
Yep. I knew.
Listen to that song.
I've heard that song. I never.
Okay. You guys will love that song.
Okay.
Great lyrics. And Wilford, whatever your name is, wherever you are, oh my God, you were amazing. And when you quit the band, I quit the band, and that's what happened. it was a learning curve for me trying to play country, and after playing rock, and it was, and we opened up for this band who was huge, and like a country band, was really popular and huge in Chattanooga. And the guitar player was amazing. He had one of those B-bender things.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I was like, how is he playing? What is he doing?
Yeah.
I had no idea what he was doing, making it sound like a steel guitar.
Yeah.
No idea. And when he would sing Willie Nelson, he was a Willie Nelson impersonator.
Oh, no.
He would, they would play a few songs, and then he would sing a few songs. He sounded just like Willie Nelson. Everyone came out to see them, and I got up there doing my country metal guitar riffs, and I just, it was just a weird time in my life. But I did that and ended up in Knoxville a few months later and played in the band, and went to Atlanta, moved back to Knoxville, moved to Nashville.
Yeah.
But
And this whole time you're still writing stuff, you're still writing your own music. And
I've been trying. Here lately, I don't know. I've been trying to find my muse.
Boy,
she's left me, and you know how that feels.
Fucking hell. It'd be easier to go out here and build a rocket ship right now than write a song.
Yeah.
That's
where I am.
I was going to ask you, like, what do I do?
You just got to wait.
You're no help.
You got to wait.
I guess so.
And I've been waiting on her to answer my calls, maybe go to dinner, and she can, we can bat some ideas around, but hasn't happened.
It's just a game of ping pong, Well, when I first met you, you were doing the trio with Geezer and on bass and
Free J on drums.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah,
that's when we met.
Yeah, I just learned a few power chords, and I had a.
You were learning. You were trying to play. You started playing electric guitar. You wanted to learn riffs and.
Yeah, I was just thinking, okay, if I could come up with like some kickoffs and some turnaround things, like, and I still call them the country terms, but I could do that. I could have enough chops that I could come up with a few things like that, or endings, and but man, to take a ride on something, I was just fucking lost as a high ball, and
I'm still learning how to
lost the ball in high weeds. But you were so. I was playing. Andy had a melody maker, one knob, and the amp I had one knob on it, and it was like
kind, though.
I know. And
we played some event with you, and you just went up there and did it.
Yeah,
and it had so much feeling.
Well.
No, that's what it's all about.
Well, you were very complimentary that night, and when I'll tell you what it was. I don't remember where it was, but it was Tim Lee 3, you guys, and us, the Romeos, and we had like.
I sat in with Tim Lee 3 that night. My band wasn't there. That was like.
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure your band was there that night.
It was Mick Harrison. It was like at a warehouse of some sort.
Yeah.
And I got up and sat in with Tim.
Okay.
And you played.
It was some kind of like maybe an art, like a showing.
Yeah,
or something.
It was
something
a
like
strange kind of thing. There's like a keg of
Not
beer.
a real stage. Just a.
There was a stage. It just wasn't a real venue.
Okay,
remember?
Yeah.
It was like
I can't remember.
I just remember saying, just do what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because that was awesome. And it's like there's a fine line. That's what it's always been for me. If you know too much about the instrument, sometimes it comes across as hoity-toity or I don't know, but there's certain players that don't know that. They just play on feel and like, and it's just, it hits the right spots. And you're just like, yeah, that's what it's all about. And that's what you did that night. And I remember telling you that. I'm like,
you did.
Just do that.
And I was scared to fucking death. Because we got, I don't know if we just got there, but these guys were sound check. When I heard y'all sound check, there's Tim and then this guy. And I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing here? I mean, literally. But it was always, and I always share that story, but it was very, I knew you were being genuine. It wasn't just a bunch of BS, and it kept me going, wanting to do better, It really did.
Glad I said the right thing. That's how it made me feel.
Me too.
And, when I was in California,
I'd have to get up and punch you right now if you didn't.
When I was in California and I was like all into the technical tapping and wizardry and all that stuff with guitar, and I had friends, I'd go see their band, and it was like the same thing. They were just up there just playing.
Yeah.
And I'd go, wow, I'm 20 years old and I've kind of lost. I knew, because and afterwards I'm like, you're so good. You just it felt like you didn't know where you were going and you landed on the right notes. I love that. And I have always been attracted to that, but I haven't always held to that, like, that style.
Yeah.
That, what is the word I'm looking for? Acumen. It's like, I'm like, oh no, I want to sit down and see what I can do. And, it always, I like, there's something to say for feel. And when you don't know exactly what you're doing and you land on your feet, it's what it's supposed to be about.
Man.
And that's why I never wanted to learn too much.
Yeah.
And when I see guys just like doing scales, and I never was attracted to that, but I'm attracted to it in a different way, flash and technical playing, but never like the guys that who I'm talking about who are like that.
Yeah.
I've always been about the feel.
Yeah. Well, that's that was the same way with me in learning the bluegrass stuff. Johnny was just so, he could go out on anything and improvise and put other
the guy
things
from
in
the church.
Yes. And, but he was also, not necessarily, well, he was complimentary on like my singing and stuff, but when I figured out what I really wanted to do, he was just like, it's a downbeat, man. He said, it ain't nothing but a downbeat. That's bluegrass. It's down, 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 for what you're wanting to do. And then I started listening to like, the old timers like Don Rena or Red Smiley and Jimmy Martin and Larry Sparks, Dale McCurry, and figuring that out was like, oh, okay.
Dale McCurry.
So it's almost like bass to a degree with a little ching-ling, ching-chang-ching in it,
Yeah.
It's all about the downbeat, but then you listen to like Chuck Berry, or you listen to like Bill Monroe, the way he played mandolin, and it's like, oh, yeah, it's downbeat. It's power. It's rock and roll, What
do you think about it, Jamie?
Well, I think that this cigar is one of the best ones I ever had in my life.
It's fucking phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah.
I told you.
It's interesting. I never had anything quite like it as far as the flavor profile. It's all over the place. Really.
Yeah.
But with that, I think that there's a lot to be said for being organic with your instrument. I think that when I was younger, you're talking about when you were 20 and you're, listening to all these people, I was listening to Dr. John and all these cats that could just play, man, and I wanted to sound like that, and it's like, you listening to your guitar, John there, I just knew that there's some of that stuff I wasn't going to play.
Yeah, I was
like, I was listening. It just made me think of it while you were talking. I was listening to Oscar Peterson night before last, and I'm not really a big jazz guy in general, but God Almighty, man, I could play for 50 years straight and never be that good. Yeah. I mean, it just was flawless. Or somebody like, all of them, Bud Powell, anybody like that. But I think there's a lot to be said for the simplicity of just being rhythmic with the guitar. It's especially in bluegrass. There's no drums, so you got to be part drum. Everybody's got to be part drum. Yeah. And like when I would teach students and stuff about, I'm a stickler for time. It pisses me off when people don't play in time. It just wears my ass out. Well, I want to push here. Well, let's start with playing it right, and then we'll worry about pushing or whatever the hell you want to do. But I used to let them listen to bluegrass because the drums are a crutch. You got a real good drummer, it's a crutch for playing in time. So, and I think that something that bluegrass does, and even like original jazz trios without drummers, bass, guitar, and piano, whatever, there's a lot of rhythmic to it that just goes over the head of young players, and they don't understand that the part of the way they're playing is you're being a drummer too, a drummer with tonality,
Yeah.
And there's something.
I think with bluegrass in particular too, is like a lot of it is, like a lot of kids, just like Eddie Van Halen or any other real hot player, is they want to learn those licks, like say like a Billy Strings or a Tony Rice or somebody that was real innovative, or that makes it fun, makes it sound different. And that's all great and grand, but if you don't get the doom, 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 you ain't got shit.
The thing is,
but I had
to your
money.
Point, Jamie,
you ain't had shit.
You can't teach time. You can't teach rhythm and timing. You either got rhythm or you don't. And I taught for about 5 years, and it's like I had some students that just didn't have rhythm.
Yeah.
And man, that's the most important thing to have. If you either got rhythm or you don't.
It's rhythm and blues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
say it all the time. Like if we have something that we have maybe I start off or somebody starts off, maybe like a kind of like a cold kind of kickoff, but or you're hunting for it, or something, is like, it's okay. Just keep that groove going for how many ever fucking bars it takes to figure out where it's going to land. And then we can all start on one, like then we can begin. But I'm big about the feeling and having the rhythm section together. I'm a part of the rhythm section.
It's the most important thing. I mean, it really is.
The old man told me one time, he said, that's the cake. All this other shit's the icing that goes on the cake.
The fairy dust.
Yeah.
Yeah. The icing. I
remember the first time, one of the first times I ever got to play with a drummer. I was never I never used to that, but man, I locked in. My right hand locked in with that snare, and I was like, oh, well, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
I think. I'm pretty sure. Sounds right. And I just, kind of started considering myself a part of that rhythm section, because I could train wreck it, or I could get in line and be a part of it too, either way. But
well, there's a lot of players that I've played with them. They don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah,
they don't want to be a part of a choir.
Yeah,
where everybody has their parts and does the same thing. They want to stand out.
Yeah,
even in a band situation, it's like, I want to be the guy that controls everything and says what to do. It's like, it's a team, effort.
Yeah, you're all on it. You're all pulling the same weight, or you should be. To me, I've told my guys this, and different folks we played with, is like, that night that we all make the same mistake at the same time, damn, that's a good night. Because we were playing for each other and together.
That's right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the audience never pick up on that. They would just think that was something we decided that we were going to do. But that makes me more excited than, why I try to sing so hard and try to put feeling and try to sing in tune. And I'm doing that because these guys are backing me up. I'm doing it because they're the best at what they're doing, and I want to be the best at what I'm doing, because I don't want to be that peer that's looked at as like, well, he's all right, but, some bitch can't sing. He's always flat, or whatever.
Well,
you know what I mean?
That's okay. It just depends on what genre you're doing. If you're,
but
doing the punk thing, punky rock, even Steve Earle-ish kind of stuff. You don't have to be perfect.
Oh gosh, yeah. Mick Jagger.
The thing is, country is the hardest thing to do. Country music, rhythm section, vocals, everything, that's hard.
It really is.
Rock and roll it's hard, but it's not that.
Yeah.
Country is
those nuances.
It's like beyond the pale. It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Those nuances that you take for granted are, we were just talking to Daniel Shiflett last week, and he plays bass with us a lot and has played on a bunch of the Christmas spectaculars and stuff. And
I know Daniel.
Yeah,
he's a great guy.
He's a great guy.
He's a pro.
He's a great player. He's a pro. He's always Johnny on the spot with his schedules, his times.
He takes it very seriously.
I think he's in the union.
He probably is,
because the first time I saw him was at West High School. All my daughters went to West High, and they were in musical theater. And I don't know if you've ever seen a musical theater production from West High School.
I have not.
Oh my God. I was used to middle school and elementary, and we went to see our oldest daughter in a musical there. And it was Broadway.
Yeah.
Anyway, they had an adult orchestra of 8 people over here.
Yeah.
Daniel Shiflett was playing bass.
Yeah.
I'm like, that guy looks familiar.
He's playing Wicked this week. He's doing the Wicked show. Yeah. So he's certainly union, I'm sure.
But
anyway, back to what we were.
Well, we were just talking about, and as good as Daniel is, he brought it up even about just like, he's like you just think, oh yeah, it's back to this and then here and then we'll go to here and then back to the thing and then over again. And then he's like, and then you realize that wasn't it at all. Because you missed a passing thing, or you missed you weren't just right there on the note, and with everything being sparse and with room to do its builds and its stylings,
Now, was this for the Christmas special you do?
It was just
what are you speaking
in general of country music.
It was on the podcast last week.
Yeah, it was on the podcast last week.
He was talking about country music.
Yeah, and just the nuances and just how that it was, take it for granted of thinking it's going to be really easy, but it's not.
It's not.
From a bass standpoint.
Yeah.
It sounds as simple to somebody that doesn't know what they're listening to. It sounds very simple until you play it wrong.
All you gotta do is go boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
It's not it's not easy at close. All, man. It's like AC/DC.
Yeah.
It's very simple, straight ahead, hard rock. And everybody thinks they can do it, but they can't do it.
They
don't. No one can be that steady.
They don't have Malcolm.
It's the rhythm. Well, yeah, it's the rhythm section.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is in country music. If you don't have that's the way it is. And if you're only as good as your drummer in every genre, but country music, I mean, it's every instrument really.
Yeah.
It really is.
Because we were talking about this as well, and we won't wear this out on this episode by no means, but
let's wear it out.
So you go back and listen to some of these recordings of these songs, your favorite songs or whatever stuff that you might want to do, and for 8 or 10 measures, this may be bass and drum, or it might just be bass and piano, or it might just be guitar, or it might just be guitar and bass, and there's just so much room there for the interpretation and for the stylings that you want to put, who you are and your stamp in on it, that you just, it's not everybody plays. Here we go. I mean, there's got to be room. There's got to be those nuances. Those seventh chords mean something. Oh, he's going here next.
Yeah.
It's just as much, we talk about Haggard and the Strangers all the time, not just on the show, but all the time. And it's just a masterclass in what you're talking about, because it's not always about what you play. It's many times about what you don't play. And a lot of those records, you listen to it, and it's like they're just hanging him out there to dry, but it's planned, and he don't sit, he deals with it. It's because they make this hole, this magical hole for that vocal to sit in, and it's magic, man. And then when I was younger, I used to think, are they just mixing it that way and they're just like dipping stuff right here? But then I saw them live and I'm like, no, they're not.
Fiddle players over there like this.
This fiddle players like, God, they don't, and if they don't play,
they don't play.
And then I got to thinking about it. This is something that
still guitar sitting back there, just that
I think a lot of popular musicians, if you want to call it popular music or whatever, miss out on. It's like the orchestra symphony. It's a miracle when we can get two guitar players to tune the same on the fucking stage. I'm just like blown away with
fucking guitar players.
I'm
those
spoiled.
Bastards.
I tune when I'm playing bass with us. I tune after every song, every one, because I just cannot stand to be out at all. But you got to think about an orchestra that's got that many pieces in it, everybody playing the exact thing they're supposed to at the exact same time. It's a miracle, really. And to be in tune, everybody's in tune together. And everybody, for the all the stringed instruments, there's not a fret in the damn place. The intonation's got to be perfect. What happens, we take it for granted listening to it, is a miracle every time they play a song, because look how many people are in tune playing it. And then I listen to some of this big band stuff, or some of this, like Sinatra, all that backing stuff and all that horn stuff. We had the horns at the... Yeah. And they're like, Dana was like, they'll be able to do those punches and stuff. And I'm like, God, I cannot wait to hear that. And then you hear these horn players playing these tight riffs that are just fast as hell. And it's just dead nuts on the money. Yeah. And we look over that and think, okay, well, everybody play, and I think that ought to be studied more for people that are trying to play rock and roll or country or whatever else. It's like, listen, play your damn part and don't play nothing else. Yeah. Shut the hell up. And that's something that took me not a long time, but it took a couple of humiliating moments with people that were really good to say, hey, stop doing that, whatever you're doing with your left hand over there. I was like, I'm going to beat your ass when we're done with practice, But then I started listening, and I'm like, it's like you play different. Mike's talking about this the other day. You play different when you're playing by yourself than you do with a group, Yeah, absolutely. And country, real country, is that way. But really, all great music is that way. Everybody's got their part. Everybody does exactly what they're supposed to, and everybody's in harmony. Yeah. And
exactly. I totally agree. I mean, yeah.
I used to be a worship leader for a long time, and the band was, this particular church, the band was pretty good. It's a lot of talent, but groove just escaped them. It was just not something they understood. And I had played in so many other, and sometimes I wasn't the worship leader, but I was one of the band leaders. I was like, listen, let's just play just a little vamp right here and play and learn to listen for that, what you're supposed to be doing, instead of everybody playing everything at once and 16 singers doubling up on harmonies and stuff.
There's cues everywhere. Yeah. If you're listening, there's cues.
And there's much more to, you talk about being a front man and singing and playing your, the rhythm part or whatever. There's a lot more to leading a band, especially this band, than just singing. There's a lot of things you'll do with your vocal inflection, and the rest of us know, okay. It's just like when you're in a 1, I play a 1-7, you're going to 4. Yeah. That's just where you're going. Yeah. Okay. Every time. Right? Yeah. Yeah. 4-7, you don't hear a whole lot. Hardly ever. Right? Yeah. If you play 5-7 chord, you're going back to 1. Okay. Same thing with your vocal inflections and how you do. The first time, but back when I first started playing and I heard somebody live, and bluegrass does this a lot. You talking about just vamp on that till we get it or till I come in. That drove me crazy. I was like, listen, we're supposed to play 4 fucking bars right here. Yeah. And you come in on this pickup right here. But you'll hear these live bands where somebody's singing and they might play 5 bars, and then he'll come in, then they'll reset because they've done it so many times that when you start, we're back at the first here. And that just blew me away. I was
I think I understand. Yeah.
The key part to all of that is listening.
Yeah. There you go.
That's the whole point is, listen to everybody else. And
so I'm not up here just trying to show out or,
it took me
trying to get us through there,
It took me a few years.
Yeah.
It was like, listen. Yeah.
We had a guy sit in with us one night, and that was one thing I told him, it was like, how did I do? I said, you did great. I said, but you didn't listen to anything we were doing. You know, it was like, you're up there doing your thing. I said, now nobody out there knew that. And the show went off without a hitch, and that was great. I said, but you didn't listen to a fucking thing we did tonight. You know, and it's just the truth.
Yeah.
You know, and
that's what I like about you.
It's just the truth.
I've been in band situations with you, and you just told the person, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I love that.
In the nicest way I could, you know, but it's like,
I have been there, and I'm like, whoa, he's a way better band leader than I was or am.
You know, there would be times I would get lost, or I would be thinking about something, or I wouldn't be doing something just right. And then, you know, one day it finally dawned on me. I'm like, these guys have got it. I'm just muddling everything along here. I've got another instrument. Let that shine here. There's no need of me trying to. Now, I should learn how to figure it out to do it correctly, but there's no need of me doing that right at this moment and muddling through this. And
yeah,
so, you know,
that's not your main function. That's not your main function in the band. Your main function is right here. This is just icing.
It's icing. Yeah. Singing is icing.
We were recording this record one time over at this big church over in Asheville. I can't even remember the name of what the studio was now, but and we had this drummer, and I was fronting this band. These guys hired me in to front this band, and it was a lot of fun. And we had a drummer, and we'd take, you know, we're all lined up live recording it, and we'd take 2 or 3 passes at it, and if we didn't have it, we'd move on, come back, you know, or whatever we needed to do. And, you know, we were doing this one spot, and he was doing something on the drums, you know, and it was Richard Young, the rhythm guitar player and singer with the Kentucky Headhunters, which was like a dream come true.
Oh, wow.
I'd sat out in my little Ford Fiesta out there forever and sang these songs of the Kentucky Head. I wore out 13 tapes and 24 CDs of this shit.
Great band.
Great band. And he walked out of the control room and he says, that was good, boys, but now... and he called the guy's name, you know, and he said, you know, that part you did right there where, you know, we came back around and this thing came through, and it said that part right there. And he goes, oh, yeah, where I did, you know, that. And he goes, yeah, that part right there. And he said, yeah, I know where you're talking about. And he goes, don't do that.
Yeah, I know.
So I came by it honest, exactly, I guess, in a lot of ways, because, you know, that's the way a lot of those old timers, you know, I mean, now sometimes they were real assholes when they told you, and they tried to embarrass you too, but it's just like, no, we don't need that there. Don't do that.
Yeah. Less is more.
Yeah. But I'll never forget that one. Yeah, honey, don't do that.
Sometimes you just got to tell them, you know, I've been told, and it hurt my feelings at the time.
Sure.
But
We've
you know
all been
what?
told.
It made me better.
It's your turn.
You know, I had a friend of mine
be
that
told.
played drums, and he knew that I had played a lot, you know, and it was in a church setting, and he just came and asked me. He wanted feedback. He's like, well, what do I need to do? And I said, you need to learn how to play drums. You know, I was like, well, where am I at? I said, well, he goes, I know you've played with a lot of people or whatever. I was like, yeah. I said, you would never have been able to play any band I was in ever. You'd have never made the cut. And that wasn't saying a whole lot, because I play with some real shitty drum. I mean, listen, that wasn't an elitist statement. That was saying, look, you really need some work. And you know what? He took that feedback and he went and got good from it. And I was like, man.
I was watching lately I've been listening to, for about 15 years, I've been catching up on bands and that I've never gave the time of day to.
Yeah.
Like Soundgarden and STP, and I just checked out in the 90s, and
I think we
been
all
listening to bands like that, and then I started listening to the producer who produced a lot of these bands called Michael Beinhorn.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Beinhorn? Something like that. Anyway. He was notorious for firing drummers, like the drummers of the band.
Wow.
Because the drummer is the most important part of getting the tracks.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
it is. It really is. It's like, I watched a couple interviews with him, and he's like, yeah, I mean, I hated to do it, and I'm known for that, but you got the drum track has to be there.
Yeah.
And he was asked, you're the producer for, notoriously firing drummers, and he goes, yeah, I own it. You have to do it.
What else am I supposed to do?
Yeah. Damn keyboard player too. Its original gig was a synthesis, it says. I knew I'd heard that.
He produced a lot of bands in the 80s and 90s.
Well, he's a dick.
Yeah, sure he is. Sure he is.
No, I can only speak from this as to, when we did the first Romeo's record, Eric Keeble played drums on that. And we never could, we had Eric, we had Ed Courts, we had Nate Barrett. They all came in and would rehearse us while we were trying to really learn this stuff, but none of them could commit to being
the drummer.
The drummer,
because that's how drummers are. They can't commit.
I guess so. And
but you were spoiled though. That's three pretty damn good drummers.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we were, and they were doing us a solid too, because we were just, it was connect the dots, paint by numbers. We were just figuring it out,
Yeah.
And but every drummer after that record that we would work with or hire in would be like, who played those drums on that album? I was like, well, it's Eric Keeble. And they were just like, damn, he was just
solid,
spot on. I was like, yeah, he's the best drummer you never heard. He was, there's 4, there's 3, and he was there on every other count in between.
Compliment to having a bunch of other guys saying how
absolutely
that you're the standard.
Hey, good guys and good gals alike. If you're looking for somewhere to go to get your hair did, then look no further than the Chop Shop Hair Studio. Our longtime friend and supporter, Cindy Lou, opened this spot located in Knoxville's very own Happy Holler back in 2010. Chop Shop Hair Studio offers a variety of services, including facial waxing, accessories, tools, and a complete line of men's and women's products, along with essential oils. A lover and supporter of the musical arts here locally and abroad, Cindy has a small stage with stringed instruments and offers discounts to guests if they are willing to play and or sing a song. The Chop Shop Hair Studio is a little bit country, a little bit rock and roll, and 100% pure style, just like our dear friend and owner, Cindy Lou. The hours are Tuesday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. You can also visit the ChopShopHairStudio.com and or call 865-525-4240 to book your next visit to go and get your hair did. Located at 1206 North Central Street, Knoxville, Tennessee, Chop Shop Hair Studios. Stop by and tell them McGill and Jamie sent you to have one more for the good guys.
Well, we were talking about my friend in Nashville who I'd met, who took me down to Lower Broad and introduced me to that Lower Broad scene in Nashville, and he was a saxophone player and played with Beard 549 and got fired from that gig because they thought, well, we don't need a saxophone player. Or who knows why, but yeah, he took me around all these honky tonks down there, and he'd sit in with bands, and it was a whole different, I hadn't really been down there and done that. So I started doing that. And what was your question? Why did I move there?
Yeah, did you go to Nashville to kind of get a taste of it, or did you just to scratch an itch, or did you want to try to do something, or what was
I wanted to learn more about songwriting.
Okay.
And I don't know what happened. I moved back from California, played in a metal band in Knoxville, moved to Atlanta, and I started I just wanted to be a better songwriter, and started listening to country radio a little bit, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I started trying to write songs that weren't, it was a little, I don't know, weren't in the genre that I'd been playing for 10 years, 12 years.
Right.
And I'm like,
where's all this coming from?
I don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
I just wanted to do it. And I'd met my now wife, and, on a trip up from Atlanta to Knoxville. And I said, we love at first sight. And I said, I want to move to Nashville. And she goes, okay. And moved to Nashville, started going out to Singer-Songwriter nights, songwriter in the rounds kind of thing. And that's how it started. And I did quickly learn a lot about, writing songs and what it took and to make a good song, and saw a lot of great songwriters. And it's like, I don't know if this is, it was just a guitar and vocal. And I hadn't been singing. I didn't really sing.
Yeah.
But I saw songwriters who'd written hits, and they could barely sing. I mean, some of them not worth a shit, just talking the songs. And I thought, that has more feeling than anything I've heard on the radio.
Yeah.
The feeling of it just struck me. And I go, yeah, this is the storytelling. And I thought, I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know why. And it just sent me on a different path. And I started reading, which I'd never done.
Yeah.
I don't know how I made it through school. I never read ever. And I'm like, I want to be a storyteller. And
yeah,
I think this is a town to be in. But at the same time, it's a very humbling experience in Nashville. A lot of just everybody's so good, and
you meet 1,000 of them, right?
It will make you just want to turn around and go home.
Yeah.
And it did. But I got in a rock band, and the songwriter in that band was freaking killer. And he taught me a lot of stuff. And we played a lot of shows and outside of town, outside of Nashville. Played in Nashville a lot.
Now, he taught you a lot of stuff about
just songwriting. His songs were so good, and I was embarrassed at playing any of mine or the band because although I'd written like in every band I'd been in, I'd written the song. I was primarily the songwriter because no one else did it. It's like, I'm going to step up and do this. But, it was like very elemental, like rock and roll, like songs about girls and partying. And, and I'm like, I want to do more than that. So Nashville was like very big learning experience for me.
Oh, I'm sure.
That's what set me on the path. And then I was like, well, I still want to play rock guitar, and that band, kind of fizzled out, and there I was. We moved back to East Tennessee, and that's how all that got started.
Yeah. Now, were you doing did you come back here and start trying to do like singer-songwriter stuff, or did you just totally rock out? Was that about the time I met you, or?
Yeah, what I did was I moved back here in the end of 2001.
Okay.
And with a whole new plan.
Yeah.
And I basically just sat on my porch and worked on songwriting for like didn't do anything for 5 years.
Yeah.
Just, it's like, what if I melded my metal background with songwriting, which turned into the Kevin Abernathy band, the KAB, with Geezer and Free J. And, that's what started it.
Yeah.
And it's like, Bruce Springsteen or Neil Young, they both have like a folky side. And I was writing songs like that, but I was like, I still want to rock.
Yeah.
It's hard to do. It's hard to come across that way.
Well, that's all I had known. And then I can't even remember what record or what song it was, but then I heard you were doing other stuff, and I was like, why is he not doing the thing? And then but okay, well, this is good.
Yeah.
So as a fan, I get it.
Yeah, I went back and forth from like country or folky stuff to hard rock. Yeah, it's like the extreme version of Springsteen, or it's like they went from rock to folky stuff, but I was like heavy metal to folky stuff.
But sometimes you have to go to extremes, don't you?
I don't know.
I mean.
It was like a schizophrenic kind of thing.
Yeah.
That I just wanted to do. And it's, I don't know, kind of difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things, you pick up an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
It comes out like this. You pick up an electric guitar, which I rarely did, but I wanted to be able to sing that song on by myself, no matter how heavy it was. And that it turned out I couldn't do that with some songs. And it turned into like a rock extravaganza. But I like both.
Well, you're great
like
at both.
Dylan,
You're great
and I like Iron Maiden.
Yeah. Well, you're great at both. I know Wayne Bledsoe always, when your name comes up or if he's having anything to say about it, he's just like, he's one of the best songwriters in this town.
Yeah, well,
or
Wayne,
ever.
He's kind of crazy, that dude.
Well, everybody knows he's a fucking liar. But other than that,
he likes everybody. Sorry, Wayne, you do.
Yeah. No, I'm just teasing. No, he's always got.
Yeah, I really appreciate Wayne.
Yeah. So enough about all that. But what? So what are you? So you just spent like a couple of years opening and or playing for with Chris Knight?
Yeah, I did. Mostly playing just guitar for him.
Okay.
Yeah, I did open a bunch of shows. It was 14 months, 15 months.
Okay, yeah.
It was quite an experience. His fans are, very loyal, and I mean he's still very relevant.
Mm-hmm.
He draws some big crowds. We played in front of huge crowds. We played in a lot of, he played like little honky tonks. He played festivals where there were 5,000 people.
Wow.
That was a great experience.
Yeah.
I just came to the point where I was like, I don't really want to be on the road anymore.
Yeah.
A little after a year in, and it really just getting myself revved up to go get out of the house and go on the road.
Yeah.
Was like, ugh. But once I got out there, it was fun.
Oh, well, sure. That's the way it always is. I mean, we don't get paid to play. We get paid to do all that shit that comes before it and after it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, we get paid for the logistics. We get paid for the mileage. We get paid, it's to get there. In a real simple kind of way to look at it. But, well, how was he as a bandmate or a peer or somebody to work with? Was he?
He was great.
Yeah.
I mean, he's very particular.
Yeah.
Knows what he wants.
Right.
And, we'd play a song a certain way for 20 shows.
Yeah.
And then he would say, I don't like what you're doing there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be like, what do you mean? We've been playing. He's like, I don't like it. Let's try something different. I mean, like, we try something. Yeah. So there was that. And it was hard to please him on a few songs. And he was just like, can't you do it this way?
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I played 100 shows with him. And he got sober about 4 months in, and it was totally different after that. He got better. Yeah. He was way better.
Of course, yeah.
I shouldn't speak to that really, but it was.
Well, you're not speaking. I mean, you're not speaking negatively about it. You're giving the guy a compliment. I mean, honestly. I mean, and I'll say this because I don't know the fucking guy from Adam. I mean, I met him a couple of times, but, I know when he kind of first came around and kind of started blowing up I always felt like he was, John Cougar after taxes. You know what I mean? For like the first, I was very young in my opinions and my music background as well. I mean, when I had this, when I said that about him way in the past, but I did always, I did hear several things about him being kind of hard to, it was like, this is the Making Friends tour, that there was.
Yeah, he's gone through a lot of
some hard
guitar
times,
players.
some rough stuff. Yeah, so
it was,
and
it was great, and
good,
I might play with him again. We're still friends and everything, and it was a great experience. I mean, he made me band leader, and then all of a sudden, it just took a turn, and I wasn't happy. He wasn't happy. He's like, I wanted to get off the road and wanted to get back to my own stuff, really.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I played that gig one time before where I was, and I only did it for like a weekend, that I was a rhythm guitar player and a part singer. And I was like, well, this fucking sucks. This guy's a dick. Not with Chris Knight, with somebody totally different. But, and saying that, there's a whole nother, you got to be somebody else. It's not your deal. It's not, you do. It's a whole different mindset, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
As a band member and
yes.
playing for someone like that?
Yes.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was great playing alongside a legend. We did a lot of acoustic shows, just him and I.
Yeah.
It was awesome, you know?
Yeah.
And I wanted to do more band shows, but the last 40 shows I did was just him and I, or me and him, and another guy that ended up playing like dobro.
Okay.
And then a little bass. And it's like, you know, the band stuff was more fun, and that was more me.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And you had to be real delicate. You're playing in a theater with 300 people, 500 people, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Super quiet. And I started playing electric guitar in these situations.
Really?
I did. And he was, okay, yeah, I like it. And, you know, 2 acoustics, we did that for a while, and
yeah,
I switched to electric, and which was cool and fun, and I thought it fit.
Did you run that by him, or
No, I just brought it one day, and I was just like, what if I just played electric? And he goes, all right. And that's how he talks.
Yeah.
You know? And he was like, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And I played the telly, and he played acoustic, and we had like Isaac played dobro, and sometimes he'd play bass on like, because I was like, I think we need a bass,
right?
You know, in these situations, if anything. And so yeah, and I said I'll be band leader. When he asked me to do that, I was like, if you let me make the set lists, and because he'd been playing the same 20 songs for like 15 years. And so I just said, let's try this song. Let's try that song. And we'd do it for a couple shows. And then he'd be like, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't like that, you know. And it just started into this, the end.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it was like, I don't know. But it was mostly me not wanting to do it anymore. And I started thinking of an exit strategy. And here I am.
Yeah.
But I just told him, I'm like, if you ever in a bind, you know, call me up.
Yeah, of course. You always got to leave on good terms.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. A lot of, you know, riding in a van.
Yeah. Did he have people, handlers, tour manager, all that stuff?
Well, that's how I got in the band. Jason Knight, tour manager.
Right. How did I forget that?
Yeah. What happened was Chris's longtime guitar player, Chris Clark, had personal problems and bowed out. And he was coming back and forth. But in the meantime, he had a guitar player, Frank, who's a Nashville guy, pretty young, great player.
Yeah.
And it was him and I playing in band situations, and Frank quit. I just signed on to be a filler.
Right.
And I got in the band to just, you know, learn the ropes and learn the songs, you know, And then Frank ended up quitting, and I became the main guy. And Frank Ricci, who is an incredible young guitar player. And when he quit, it was just me and Chris.
Yeah.
And the band shows, it'd be few band shows and mostly just me and Chris. And
yeah.
And then Isaac started playing with us. And
I guess it's just math at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a great time. A lot of traveling, a lot of sitting in the van driving for 500 miles.
Yeah.
Or, a lot of Texas shows far away.
Yeah.
Just getting in the van, meeting in Nashville and driving to Texas and playing, 5 or 6 shows and coming back, or going to Idaho, Montana.
Yeah.
And, we played everywhere.
Yeah.
Northeast, Boston, and everywhere. So.
They go over well up there?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Boston, New York, even.
Yeah.
Chris Knight fans everywhere. It's amazing. I mean, he has those songs that just really strike people. They're very universal. And, and
well, where can people find all your stuff?
Oh God, you can steal it everywhere. Napster was a long time ago.
Oh, I hear you.
iTunes, Spotify, Bandcamp is my favorite.
Anywhere they find
actually
music.
pays people,
right?
I got a bunch of records on there. It's all over. You can maybe even go to Raven Records and buy a CD.
Holy cow.
I don't have anything on vinyl.
Right.
I wish to someday.
There's a lot of cost. There's a lot of cost. I do have one on vinyl.
Barstool?
The second Barstool record, yeah.
That's good stuff.
I really, the both of us, Andy and I, both would really like to have had that first record on vinyl. Second record was really good, but there's something about the first one that's just, it's really, I don't know, it's really special in another kind of way, because it was, it was like having a kid, it's your first one.
Yeah.
It's just somewhere so totally out of left field and so different, and you've seen it through, and it came to life, then it got legs, and the whole thing. So
yeah, it's fantastic.
But I don't know what you
do.
Some
good stuff.
But I don't know what you do these days. Do you still make a CD? Do you make a record?
I don't know. I saw yesterday Best Buy pulled
go back to making cassettes,
all media off the shelves.
What?
Vinyl's made a comeback, obviously, but
I mean,
it's hard to buy a CD now. I mean, Walmart has some.
I know if you're touring enough, you can sell it.
Yeah.
But if you're not in that situation where you're not touring at least 100 or 150 dates a year, I just don't know how to
monetize it.
Yeah, or how to, do you just put it on Bandcamp and get it that way, or do you actually have some physical copies? I mean, I know I've given something to someone before that were so complimentary and kind of out of the way that it would be like, oh, I just want to give you one of these. And they'd just look at you and be like, I don't have anything to play it in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. I don't know what that, I mean.
I've just recently been putting out singles because no one's attention span is, greater than listening to 3 minutes is all I can do. And
but you do it digitally.
I do it digitally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a friend who's only likes Japanese bands. Mostly girl Japanese rock, pop rock bands. And he loves Japanese culture. And he said CDs are still huge. I never went out.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
But here it's different, I guess. There's no model or anything anymore. It's just,
it's kind of like you're either really wealthy or you're not. It's that kind of model.
Find your own way. You got social media.
Yeah.
And, everyone's a star. It's a hard road to, make a dent in and to cut through the noise.
Yeah.
Because it's like anyone can get online and make a video and go viral.
Yeah. Talent don't have to have anything to do with it.
It's a different animal nowadays.
Yeah. Well, what's in store for 2024 for Kevin Abernathy?
I've been playing with Mick Harrison in the high score for 5 years now.
Oh my God.
And
those bums.
Yeah. Been trying to do my own thing in between.
Yeah, sure.
And
we love Mick Harrison.
When I was on the road with Chris, I still tried to maintain some kind of, relationship with them and plays a few gigs. But now I'm back in that, and Mick's planning to go to Nashville and record with Ray Kennedy. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but I did. It's in the works.
Didn't he talk about it?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a thing. But I'm trying to get my own thing together. And, slowly, like I said, my muse is out to lunch.
Right.
And I don't know why. It's like sometimes you just got to wait and just sit there in front of the pencil and paper and the guitar, which I try to do every day. Just,
You make a concerted effort to try to do that every day.
For a while I didn't. I'm like, fuck it.
Let's try
it'll
this.
come when it comes. But now I actually sit down with the guitar every day.
Yeah.
And try to scribble down something like an idea. And just in case it's the time.
Right.
But it might not be the time. It might be a year. It might be 5 years. But I get to play guitar in Mick Harrison's band. So
yeah.
And he lets me contribute a song here and there. And I don't mind that.
Right. Well, as long as it's something you enjoy. Have you got any gigs lined up as far as...
I don't have anything lined up.
All right.
Nothing to promote.
Okay.
Except I think we might be playing with Mick's band. We might be playing South by Southwest in March.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Isn't that crazy?
It is kind of crazy.
I've never done that.
Yeah, I've never done South by Southwest. I know I've heard a lot of people talk about it. I've heard a lot of good things come from it, and then I've heard
otherwise.
I mean, well, for nothing else, we should maybe your muse and mine are somewhere out together. We should, now that you know where the honky tonk's at.
We should.
Yeah. Why not?
Let's do that.
And if not, at least we should. I I've been thinking about trying to book a few more of those shows this year, about like some kind of ping pong match in public, to where you're just bouncing things back and forth and sparking interest or learning old stuff or just coming up with, what I mean? Just to have something for the public eye to kind of stay a little bit relevant. Yeah. And I know I've been doing we've got our full band show starting up in January on the 12th, this Friday. And
what's that?
It's a jig and reel.
Who's in that band?
Me and Jamie and Poe Hanna and Nate Barrett.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Daniel when he can
do it. But Jamie doubles and plays bass. If Daniel's available, then Jamie usually will play keyboards and stuff, which is it's always fun, and then there's a lot of fun about just doing the 4-piece, just being bare bones, and letting it kind of stand on itself, versus putting all the pretty bits with it. I would, though, at some point really like to do like a traditional 6 or 7-piece band.
Steel.
And with a fiddle and some steel and just let everybody know none of us have to play at the same time.
I would love that.
Let's just have some fun and take it where you like it. And if you want to feel it that way, then, you guys figure all that out.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Well, you're more than welcome, man.
It's been fun.
Like I say, it's been you've been a mainstay, and you've always been a good peer and someone who's always been complimentary and encouraging, and that means a lot. And I really appreciate that.
Didn't realize I was that. I appreciate it.
Well, we're not going to get carried away. That's about enough.
That's it.
That's about enough.
I'm fine with that.
No, but it's been a blast, and to get to hear a little bit about. I never knew you grew up in Madisonville.
Oh, wow.
I never knew. I'm
a
lot of the similarities. Yeah.
Born and bred.
Yeah. Well, I love it. It's always fun having folks up, and your visit has been that as well. So,
and I've learned about you guys as well. It's been cool. Yeah, I didn't know much about your background, so
yeah. Well, that's what I tell everybody. It's kind of like everybody's like, "Well, what are you doing with your pockets? What are you?" And I was like, "It's kind of like you just get to eavesdrop." I just like it that we just start out however it starts out, and it goes wherever. Everybody's like, "Well, what are we going to talk about? There's some kind of direction?" And I'm like, "We'll talk about any damn thing we want to talk about it." And wherever it goes, it goes. It's totally fine,
I wish I was more of a baseball fan. I'm sorry about that. That section was kind of weak on my part. I love baseball, but I don't know anything about it. I'm more a football fan. I'm more of a pro fan.
Who's your team?
Titans.
Okay.
Only because I lived in Nashville and they moved there, and my dad, he called me up one day and said, if I got tickets to the Titans game or Oilers, I think it was still Oilers. I don't know if they were the Titans yet. Would you go? And I said, yeah, I guess so. I wasn't very interested in going, but he bought seats, and for 3-4 years, he had seats and he would come to Nashville when I lived there. And yeah, we were there for the Music Miracle.
Wow. Okay.
We were there when the team was hot.
Yeah.
Eddie George and
McNair.
Yeah, we went to every game. And if he didn't come, to Nashville, I'd take a friend. It was a really good time.
That's awesome.
And I heard today that Vrabel was fired.
Got the axe. I couldn't believe it.
I can, because they...
Yeah.
I mean, actually, my dad, he was like, Vrabel's going to get fired. He told me that last year. He's like, this year, he's like, I can't believe they haven't fired him yet.
Right.
And he goes, it's going to happen. And it happened. He's like, told you. You know, like dads do.
Yeah.
Told you so.
They're good at that.
But, so that's been my sport. And I never really got into any of it. My sport was Frisbee. If anything, golf.
Do you play golf?
But, I like baseball. I remember the first baseball pro game I went to was Oakland A's.
Oh, nice.
In 84 when I lived out there.
Oh, yeah. That was, they were hot. That was the Bash Brothers.
They won.
Yeah. Carney Lansford, McGuire, not Sosa, but fucking, Canseco.
He didn't come in. I think they
Dave
came
Stewart,
in at 80.
Eckersley.
Yeah, that was
Walt
first.
Weiss. Who else was on
when
that
I saw
team?
Money
Dave Stewart.
When I saw Moneyball, I was like, that was around the time. Wasn't it?
Yeah, right after that.
Was it? It was after their glory.
Yeah, I mean,
seasons.
McGuire played on the 84 Olympic team, and then I think his first season might have been 85, 86, I think, somewhere in there. He hit, 49 home runs as a rookie?
Yeah, 49. And what was it? 89 was when they won the series, right? That was the earthquake game, wasn't it?
The earthquake game.
Giants.
Wasn't that 89? Wasn't that 89? I think it was
89 was the earthquake.
Yeah. Yeah, it was them and the Giants. Battle of the Bay.
Not anymore.
And then when I moved back to Tennessee, we used to go down to Braves games a lot.
Yeah.
In the old stadium. I've been in the new stadium. I saw Billy Joel.
Oh,
there.
Okay.
In the new stadium?
We took the kids down there. Yeah. Hadn't seen a baseball game there, though. But it was reminiscent of Wrigley, all the brick. Have you been?
Yeah. I've seen 2 games there. It's gorgeous. And the stadium before that was nice, too, man. They just built.
Yeah, Turner Field was the only one that I was ever at. I never went to Fulton County or this new one.
Well, the new one is in a complete different area.
It's like in Marietta
It's
or
Marietta.
something.
Basically,
That's what I thought,
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like they built, it's
right on the interstate. I mean, you exit and you're right there. It's
it's like a little city, even. It's crazy.
It is.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I'll tell you, the most beautiful park I've ever been to, and I've been to a bunch of them. I mean, and obviously I got a really fond spot for Wrigley, but that Pirate Stadium is Pittsburgh is the most beautiful stadium you've ever. I mean,
and that's the consensus across the board.
Fucking gorgeous.
I've seen it from the bridge.
It's so beautiful.
We played a few shows there.
Yeah.
Last year before last, and
it's so beautiful. If you sit on first base side, you look up the river, and you see all 3 bridges. You sit on third base lines, you're looking back at the skyline of the city.
I watched a game. We were playing in Pittsburgh with Chris.
Yeah,
and in the hotel room, I was watching a game, and I looked out the window. I'm like, it's right there. The stadium was like, I was like on the 10th floor of this hotel room, and I was watching it. I'm like, wait a minute.
That's good, because it must have been sold out or it'd been blacked out locally. So that means they were selling some tickets.
Yeah.
They've had a rough go of it.
Yeah. That's a pretty cool town.
That's a fun town. I've always had fun in Pittsburgh. I got a good buddy that lives up there. Fun Ted. Give a shout out to Fun Ted one time. Pittsburgh's a really fun town.
Is he the one who came to the show?
Yeah, he came to the Christmas show this year.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's one of those towns like that's just big enough, but it's also, obviously bigger than here.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those towns like you ain't ever worried about no shit going down in Pittsburgh because everybody's going to fucking take care of themselves. You know what I mean? Like, you go to an all-night diner and you're drunk or whatever, and you get in there and, the chicks are tougher than you are in Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? Like, they're having their hash browns just the same way you're gonna. And if you say anything bad about the Penguins or the Steelers, some shit's going, maybe the Bucks, maybe the Pirates. Yeah, you might get away with it. But no, I've just always had a really fun time in Pittsburgh.
So damn smart the way they branded their teams, all the same colors.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, that's the only city that does that, Like
it is, isn't it?
Yeah, you can wear those colors all year.
Yeah.
Smart.
Absolutely. And, one of the fun things that I got to experience at one of the games was, so if you're coming in from the city side, from like downtown, if you're going to go watch a ball game, they close off the Roberto Clemente Bridge, which is the first bridge right there at the closest to the stadium. And they close it off to traffic. And if you're coming in from the city side, everybody's got to walk to the game together. It's pretty stinking cool, man. I mean, just to be like,
the only
what are all
player,
these people? We're going to the ballpark.
The only player in Major League Baseball history with exactly 3,000 hits, Roberto Clemente.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
Exactly 3,000 hits.
Yeah.
And then he got killed,
Yeah.
But he's right on the number, right on the money.
Yeah.
I recall correctly.
I got a good picture out beside his statue outside of the stadium there. I had a couple of guys stop me one night at a ball game there. I was carrying 2 big Iron City beers up the thing. And they got on my little pillbox, old school Pirates hat and overalls, and they're like, "Hey, man, you got a TV show?" I was like, "No, but I should have one." He goes, "Damn right you should have." It's like, all right, nice talk, guys.
That's cool.
But
we're gonna have to do a baseball show. Baseball's coming, buddy.
Yeah, it'll be here before we know it.
Yeah,
I had a guy write me today on Facebook asking me if Ohtani was going to get them to the World Series. I said, he better do more than fucking get them there.
Hey,
they better win too, or every sports media outlet and every Dodger fan in existence are going to give them down the road for spending that much money on a player. But
hey, they're going to make it back though, man.
Oh, I think
they signed that other Japanese, that pitcher too. They've got.
Who did they sign?
The Japanese pitcher.
Man, I don't know.
They spent. He's like the second highest paid player in the league now.
Really?
That's something like that. It's ridiculous. But I mean, they've got the whole country of Japan are Dodgers fans now.
Well,
so smart. They got money to burn. I hate the Dodgers, but
look what they did with Fernando back in the day.
Fernando.
They had the whole Latino culture, everybody in LA, man. I mean, that was a Fernando mania. I mean, that was the biggest thing ever.
That's true.
At that time. So I do think he's one of those special players we haven't seen in 100 years or more. Ohtani, I do think they'll win at least one, but they should win a couple with him. And I do think Todd Helton gets in the Hall of Fame.
He
this
should
year.
get in the Hall of Fame.
Todd Helton.
Yeah.
He's the greatest Rocky.
Yeah.
Is he not? I mean, Larry Walker, okay.
Besides Larry Walker,
I don't know if besides
I
Larry
think
Walker.
Larry went in under the Expos.
Well, he might have.
Which was fine.
Which is fine.
And he was a hell of a player, but, well, he got 72% of the vote last year.
Helton?
Yeah.
He should get in. He's a lifetime over 300
he was 11 votes shy of getting in the Hall of Fame his first year, so I would say he'll get in this year.
Yeah, I hope so.
That was my prediction to the guy that asked me the question
Local
today.
boy.
So, yeah,
Played at
Central High School.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Todd Helton.
Yeah.
Won the state championship in football and baseball.
Yeah.
That's hard.
I was going to say, I thought he was a football guy.
He was. He was Mr. Football, Mr. Tennessee, you know.
Played quarterback here at the university.
About 3 plays.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about the Smokies moving back to downtown and all that?
I love it.
I love it. My dad hates it. My dad hates it because he hated Bill Myers Stadium.
I love it,
But-
and I would totally go down there and get a part-time job being an usher.
Oh, yeah.
Or a full-time job as an usher for the season. I
think it's great.
Are you kidding me? How
When
great
I
would
moved
that
back-
would be as a gig?
When we moved back to
I go
Knoxville,
to the ballpark tonight. And
end of
see
01,
tickets.
we
Yeah.
moved back to Knoxville. They were trying to figure out where to build the stadium.
Yeah.
And they were talking about Riverfront. And I'm like, oh, God, that would be great. And then it ended up there on the exit. And I was like, what the fuck? Because I went to Sounds games in Nashville all the time. We went, all the time. And it was so convenient because it was like 2 miles, but I was like, I've been to one game up there. It's not far, but it's just kind of
it's a good stadium too.
Yeah, I had fun it
is, but can you go up there and drink cold beer and eat hot peanuts and then have to drive back home? It's more of an event.
Yeah.
It's more of a planned thing. If it was right down here, you'd just be like,
let's go to the ball game.
Oh shit, the ball game starts in an hour. We should run down there tonight.
Just run down there.
That'll be something we'll do.
Even living out this far, which is not really that far.
I saw all the time.
On Facebook's about maybe a year ago, they put up a model of the stadium before they started building.
Yeah.
I think they'd started the excavation of the land and all that. Mm-hmm. And everyone said, what about parking? Where do we park? Where are we going to park? I don't see parking in this model. And I was just like, imagine you live in a city. Take a bus, take an Uber, ride a bike. Everybody get in one car and go down there. I was just
Pittsburgh.
I was just like,
closes a goddamn bridge and everybody walks there.
Yeah.
See?
You know what I'm saying? It's
everybody walks.
It's that way at the Titans.
I couldn't believe it.
In Nashville too, Titans, you walk. Everybody, we parked way up in town.
It's a part of the experience.
It's part of the experience. You don't have to drive everywhere. Your own car. You don't have to do that,
There'll be a parking garage built, though. I haven't seen the plans, but he's got more plans than just baseball, in my opinion. Yeah. He's over there involved in UT and seeing all that revenue coming in for all those extra events.
I'm sure it's going to be a dual event.
Has to be.
I mean, there's going to have that purpose. I mean, first of all, minor league baseball ain't going to bring that much revenue. It'll bring a lot. It'll bring more than some. But, there's definitely, there'll be concerts. There'll be, who knows? There might be graduations or anything else there, Maybe, I don't know, but
I'd like to see them do
it'll be something to make money.
I'd like to see them do an outdoor Ice Bears game.
that'd be pretty cool.
Year. Yeah.
That'd
because they've been
on that little
about
skating ring in Market Square.
Yeah. One of the
I've been to
best.
some Ice Bears games. They're fun, man.
I had season tickets for years, man, and it was we were on center ice, second row. It was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing like NHL hockey. It's really not even the same sport because we went to see the Predators, and it's just a different thing.
Oh, I've been to one Predators game when I lived there, and it was first season. It's a lot of fun. I had one of the original shirts with just the was it a tiger with the teeth?
Yeah,
it was the first logo, and they haven't had one since. I ruined that shirt. I was painting in it and just messed it. I hate that happened. I'm like, oh my God, I ruined the Predator shirt that no one else has.
Damn.
Yeah. But yeah, man, that's hockey's fun.
Well, it's the biggest difference in if any of the team sports going from semi-pro to pro. It's just totally different. I mean, like the baseball. I mean, you can go watch a really good competitive baseball game, and you're going to see players that may be down for recovering from injuries. One of the best baseball experiences I ever had, I went to see the Durham Bulls. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
They really, I love that movie, but I mean, it's an experience. But from Ice Bears to NHL, men and boys, buddy, it's unbelievably different.
Well, that deli I was telling you about, did we talk about that where Stars came in?
Briefly. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, when the Ice Bears came, they came. Those players came in there and ate lunch.
Yeah.
When they were practicing, because it was downtown, basically, across the interstate, 440 or whatever. Man, those guys, not very big, 5'9", 5'10", but they looked like young guys. It looked like hell. Just scars on their... you don't want to fuck with those guys. They just look so rough, man. I was like, oh, hey, you want a foot long?
Extra cheese, you got it.
They just had that, bruiser looking bunch, you know.
Like they walked in off a battlefield.
Exactly.
That kind of look, you know.
Exactly.
Which they kind of did, really.
But then you think about guys like like you're saying, those NHL guys, and you think about like Lindros and Iserman and Brett Hull and those guys. I mean, Lindros was 6'3", and those guys skating up to 60 miles an hour and cramming your face into the fucking boards or the glass. I mean,
hitting a 4-ounce projectile at your face at 150.
Old-time hockey.
I tell you, it's just wrong hockey real quick.
I watched Slapshot the other day, by the way. It was so, I watched
That's why you're pumped up.
Shame.
Old-time hockey.
Man, that kid that Chicago drafted, that... God, his name escapes me now. You got two guys in an NHL now that are Gretzky-ish.
Yeah.
And this new kid is that way. And then that guy at Edmonton is special. I mean.
Oh, really?
Oh, my God. Yeah. I mean, what Gretzky did, I mean, you realize if Gretzky never scores a goal in NHL, his whole NHL career ever, not one goal, he's still the all-time points leader. He's got more assists than number 2 guys got goals.
That guy
assists.
from the Capitals didn't
pretty amazing.
No, number 2 is Messier.
Okay.
Points. You get a point.
I got you.
You get a point for an assist and a point.
I got you.
Gretzky's the all-time leader in points if he never scores a goal.
No goals.
So that's that'd be like
that's pretty
impressive.
Yeah.
But
well, did you guys see that thing about? I think it was over in England. It was international or minor league deal, but that guy who got his throat cut.
What?
Yeah. So evidently this has happened a few times in the past. Not very many, but a few times where a skate actually cut a player.
But he got his throat cut.
But the guy
killed him.
It killed him dead on the ice. He hit him.
Where?
The guy, it was,
Canada?
I think it was in England.
Adam Johnson, and they're
pressing charges.
They think it was intentional.
Yeah.
It looks intentional.
Yeah.
To me.
So there was a deal where the guy was coming in and he, just kind of throwed his foot up and it hit the guy in the neck and he bled out on the ice.
Right there. I mean, just
dead on the fucking ice.
It's happened before.
Yeah.
Where, like the last time it happened, the guy lived. And that was here in the States, I believe, in college or something.
Yeah, and evidently the NHL had tried to pass rules about having throat guards to where you would be protected against that, because there's been several instances where people have gotten cut with the blade of a skate in a scrum or in a pile up or whatever. Yeah. But and the last guy that got hit in the neck or the head region where it was a vital area lived, but this guy
apparently
bled out on the ice, man.
Yeah, it was a big
This recently?
Oh yeah,
6 months,
no,
probably 3 months. It
wasn't even that. It was November, I think.
Okay, 3 or 4 months.
Here.
Well, I mean, that's just
November 14th.
Yeah.
That just goes to show how much media focuses on one sport. I haven't heard, baseball and football and basketball. I haven't heard anything about it till now.
I only heard about it because one of the boys at work is he played semi-pro hockey in Virginia, and he came in talking about it one day at work. That's the only reason I know about it. But
to me, it's the most fun to watch live.
Yeah.
Of the 4 sports. And the least fun to watch on TV of the 4. It's just, it doesn't translate as well.
It's a different animal live. That Predators game I saw was so exciting, and there was blood on the ice.
It's an atmosphere.
It was just a fight, but there's blood on the ice, man. And I was like, whoa.
They're so fast. You just can't imagine how fast they are till you see them. You're like, my God, how does some human move that fast back and forth?
I mean,
just
they're
like
skating 45, 50 miles an hour.
You're talking about guys that weigh 250,
Yeah.
And on skates could be 6 and 8. I mean, that guy that's the bruiser at Chicago, what's his name?
I'm not sure. I'm not up on the NHL right now.
Yeah,
but I know back in the day, Lindros was the big guy with Philly. He was 6'3", and that wasn't on skates, and he was 230, 240.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
most of those guys aren't that big. Yeah. Rob Lowe is not that big.
Rob Lowe.
What was that hockey movie he was in?
No, I don't know.
You don't remember that?
Rob Lowe. Oh,
Youngblood.
I do know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Youngblood. I've been trying to remember that name of that movie since we started talking about hockey. Since you mentioned Slapshot.
So
old time hockey.
Lemieux was 6'4". Mario Lemieux.
Yeah,
and everybody, even I've heard Gretzky talk about him. It's like he was the most gifted player they ever saw.
Lemieux, Yager.
How big was Gretzky? Like
5'9", 10, something like that.
Yeah, he might have been 6 foot.
I don't think he was 6 foot.
I mean, he was not.
He was skinny and small.
Yeah.
That's why when I saw those hockey players, the Predators come in to the deli, I was like, these guys are... They're not very big, but they look so rough, man. I would not mess with these guys.
My brother-in-law he plays hockey still and plays in a local league, and he's good, but he told me one time, because he grew up as a Gretzky fan, and he told me that Gretzky did an interview and said that he almost described it as like deja vu, but he knew where the puck was going to be before it was there. He just had that kind of vision, He wasn't faster than everybody or any super athletic. He just was at the right place at the right time.
It's like fielders getting a jump on the ball.
Yeah. Or like Ted Williams.
Or a rebounder,
Ted Williams said he could see the laces on the ball when it's thrown at him. I guess that's why he's the last guy to hit 400,
Yeah.
Wow.
possibly the greatest hitter of all time is a Red Sox, and that makes me want to kill myself.
Well, and not only that, but he not only that, but he missed 3 seasons because he was a fucking 4 seasons because he was a Marine fighter pilot in World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't just sign up to go sell bonds. You know, he was an actual fighter pilot. Yeah. Yeah, that shotgun over there on the wall is a Sears Ted Williams model. Did you know that, Jamie? Did I tell you that? Yeah, it's Ted Williams Sportsman. He missed Sears.
He missed 43, 4, 5 completely those seasons, and then part of another. And he still hit 521 home runs.
Yeah.
So he would have had, I mean, all due respect to Babe Ruth, but Ted Williams is the greatest hitter to ever live.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
I mean, it's statistical.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I mean,
I did good?
Yes, statistical.
Statistical.
We can talk baseball till the end of time, by the way.
Steroids, too.
Oh.
Don't get
Let's not go into that.
Did you see that Gary Sheffield thing I sent you?
Yes.
What did you think about that?
I've seen a lot.
Hard to argue with.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I mean,
yeah.
When I had one of the fastest swings I ever saw, Sheffield. I'm not a baseball.
I was never a big fan.
No, I wasn't either. But he played for the Yankees, so I had to watch him for a while.
You had to suck him off at some point.
Yeah, exactly. For a couple of seasons, you know.
Fashion.
I'm not the steroid thing for me. We differ on this, but I don't give a shit. Just don't care. It wasn't illegal in baseball. They give Barry Bonds such a hard time. Did he take steroids? Fuck yeah, he took steroids.
His fucking head grew.
But
his head grew.
But
his fucking head grew.
It did. I mean,
oh my God, that's hilarious.
And so did Clemens. Clemens took steroids too. But in a court of law, innocent, both of them. They were never convicted of anything. And those two guys defined baseball from about 85 for 20 years. And during that one stretch, Barry Bonds was the greatest baseball player of all time. So you don't give a shit, steroids or not. I still don't like him. Never did. But I'll tell you what, when he was going for that home run record and when those other two were going for that home run record, everybody was watching it. They saved baseball. Steroids saved baseball. And
steroids saved baseball.
I'll tell you what.
That's what we should end on.
Hey, listen, you heard it here.
We're ending on that.
After that
steroids saved. We started off with
this man is.
Music.
Hey, you know good and well, after that strike in 94, they were fucked.
I do not know who this man is.
They were screwed. The NBA was taking over. Jordan was at his peak, winning all those championships. The NFL was really taking off.
baseball was done.
Oh, well.
If it hadn't been for that damn home run chase and all that.
Oh, for sure.
Totally. They wouldn't have been.
Wow.
They wouldn't have been paying Ohtani $750 million if it hadn't been for Mark McGwire. I don't like Mark McGwire either.
All you got to do is watch the Ken Burns documentary.
Hey.
And he said it as well. It was the 9th or 10th inning of that documentary.
I've seen it. It's great.
It is great.
Yeah, that is.
Everything that dude does is good. The Civil War one. The jazz one. Have you seen the jazz one?
I haven't. I've seen the one on country music. I thought it was pretty damn good.
He's done some.
I hate that they left Knoxville out so much. But,
yeah.
But the World War II one he did, I've watched
oh, yeah.
My wife, she's like, no, I mean, I think I've watched it like 6 times.
Yeah.
Or just parts of it, like more than that.
Okay.
That new thing on Netflix is
the Civil War one was the baseball. I watched that twice in a row. I watched it one day. The next week I watched it again.
All right. So there's one on Netflix right now.
Just 6 episodes too.
It's just 6 episodes, but it's it's World War II from the front lines, and they've went back and recolorized everything.
And it's from the different perspectives.
This isn't Ken Burns, though.
This is not Ken Burns. This is just another documentary. Yeah. But you get from the German perspective, you get from the Italian perspective, the Japanese and the American, the British, all the forces and all the different things that are going on from North Africa to South Pacific.
And a lot of footage I have not seen before.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. I watched it back over the Christmas break.
Yeah.
What's the name of it? I'll have to check it out.
I think it's From the Front Lines.
Is it on? Is it?
It's on Netflix.
Netflix. Okay.
Yeah. Jamie will pull it up.
Yeah, I'll pull it up. But when you go to Netflix, it's on. They're really pushing it because it's like, on top 10 or whatever.
I haven't seen it. I'm on Netflix all the time. I haven't seen any advertisements for it or anything. I'll have to check it out.
It is called, World War II from the front lines.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah. 6 episodes. It's excellent.
And it's all in color, which is kind of interesting to see a lot of that stuff.
They can colorize it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know how correct it is, but that Ken Burns one, man. Those interviews with those people are telling us the stories are just it's so well done. I mean,
have you seen Band of Brothers?
Yes.
Boy.
Loved it.
Oh my God.
Loved it.
Yeah. Tremendous.
That's why I can't watch Friends anymore, man. David Schwimmer is such a douche.
He's a total dick.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he was.
And the other one, the South Pacific, was really good. Those 2 that Eastwood directed. Now they're not documentaries, but I mean they're just films. But
the Iwo Jima one,
Flags of Our Fathers, and wow, all that's really good.
Yeah,
but at any rate,
you watch something like that, and you just feel like I'm complaining about having to get out in the rain.
Yeah,
and
I know, man.
It makes you feel guilty. You're just like, it makes you.
Yeah,
it puts things in perspective.
Yeah.
Like, my
grandfather was a World War I veteran.
Golly, man.
And you think about that. And then I went to the theaters and saw that 1917. Have you seen it? Either one of you guys
I haven't seen it.
It's great. It's shot in one continual shot.
I know.
From the beginning to the end. It's pretty amazing, but I
want to see that.
But
you reminded me of that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's really good.
I wanted to see it when it came out. My wife was always like, because we watch a lot of stuff together nowadays. She's.
Well, tell her to go take a nap.
I know.
This is 2 hours.
That one.
And we watched it. Yeah. I mean, at that time we were watching a lot of stuff together, but now it's like she watches her thing, I watch my thing. I'm going to go back to that.
Yeah. That one shot really thing reminds
But the difference. Between.
Well, they thought, that was the war to end all wars.
Infantry was still on horseback.
Oh, I know. World War I gets overshadowed a lot by World War II.
Yeah.
But realistically, I think World War I lasted longer. Did it not? There's a guy that does a podcast named Dan Carlin, Hardcore History. I highly recommend that if you listen to podcasts, and he does some things on World War I and II, and it's just mesmerizing. Just listen to the guy talk. You're like, how can anybody know this much? But you're talking about that one, and I know you need to cut this off, but you're talking about shooting in one shot. That reminds me that, have you seen True Detective?
Yes.
I've seen all of them, Okay, and there's a new one coming out.
It comes out Sunday.
Jodie Foster.
Sunday. But in the first one, which the first season of True Detective might be the greatest probably television ever filmed.
The first and third
one.
No
shit. Isn't it great?
Are really good.
But it's got the longest continual shot in a show or filmed ever. Goodfellas had that before that.
Which
it's that scene where they're running between the houses when
it's been like years since we watched it.
Oh, the second season was such a letdown. I just kind of gutted me, but the first season was so.
Man, that's some good stuff, though.
Man.
Yeah,
I'm gonna watch the new.
I'm hoping for a rebound. I'm excited.
I just hope they don't film it so goddamn dark that you can't see it. That's a lot of these new shows. They're like, you watch it and it's like
got to brighten the TV.
Yeah, and it's like, and then everything's
washed out,
pixelated and washed out, and it's like fuck.
We watched The Americans.
Oh,
the American.
The
Americans with Kerry Russell and that
I haven't
Welsh
seen
actor Michael Reese, which they ended up marrying.
Yeah,
I haven't seen
that. That's dark. It's like one time we watched like a season or two, and then the third, fourth season, I'm like, does it look darker to you? I'm like, how do we brighten this? This is like crazy. It was so dark.
I hate that.
It's such a good show, though, man.
Oh, it was addictive.
It's about two Russian.
It must be really great when you can't fucking see it.
Yeah, I don't remember it being dark, but maybe I was watching it in a dark room, or so. But it's about two Russian spies that come to America and pose as Americans.
Yeah, they start a family. Yeah, they live across from an FBI agent, and who is in international affairs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
man, it is. We watched it all in like 3 months, I think, 6 seasons.
Yeah. Have you watched the Julia thing yet?
No, not yet.
No.
Nate got me on watching Reacher, the second season of Reacher. Now I'm caught up on it, so I'll watch the.
It's really good. It's the story about Julia Childs. I know it's completely out of left field of what we're talking about.
My wife's been wanting to watch that. Well, she mentioned it before.
It's so good.
It's been a while.
It's so good. It's so good. I just flipped it on one night. I was like,
It's on HBO Max, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
HBO Max.
Another one.
Y'all check that out.
Another one that's really good is, God bless America.
As if our app wasn't shitty enough, we made it worse.
I know. That's what totally made it worse.
Man.
There's son of a bitch, what's it called?
What's it about?
Is it beef?
No, that's great. This is Kung Fu meets Deadwood. And it was an actual Bruce Lee playwright, or not playwright, but a Bruce Lee story that was going to be a movie. And then, of course, he passed, and his daughter picked it up and is the executive producer of it. Oh, God, what's it called? Oh, it's on HBO.
We'll look it up.
It's really freaking good.
There's so much good shit to watch.
At any rate,
you can just sit there the whole time and brain rot yourself to the grave.
Yeah.
Without ever watching the same thing twice.
We're always looking for something new to watch.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for coming on. I hope you had a good time.
It's been a great time.
You're welcome back anytime.
All right, I'll come back next week
to try to find a muse or do another podcast or just hang out. Makes me know never minds. Jamie, you want to do another one?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Here's one more for the good guys. You either is or you ain't. You do or you don't. You can or you can't. Or you will or you won't. Either way, baby, a good man, well, he's hard to find.